Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new powerful episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. And folks, well, we have some breaking news, and it's not looking good for Insomniac Games as well as PlayStation. Folks, you heard about it. There was a leak. Unfortunately, a hacker group or a ransomware group got in there and, obviously a payment was not sent and they leaked basically everything. But there is a lot to get into. Obviously, as a former police officer, my concern is for the employees at Insomniac. I'm hoping that their identities and a lot of really important private information somehow is spared from making the interwebs. That's always my concern as the people, and it should be. Yes, of course, I feel bad for Insomniac as a company. They're one of my favorite studios for PlayStation. I kind of don't feel bad for them. My heart pumps piss for PlayStation because their infrastructure, once again, has been put together with bubblegum and paper clips. And I just can't figure it out why these things continue to happen to SIE. But we are going to be breaking down what was discovered in these leaks, especially when it comes to Xbox and how they fear Xbox Game Pass, how they fear the resurgence of the platform, and more importantly, what the ABK merger actually means in dollars and cents for PlayStation. Folks, what we are not going to do, as you can see, is we will not be showing any of the footage that has leaked because that is an insta ban on all of the platforms. We worked too hard to nearly get the 14K that we have to have my channel banned because of that. So what you're going to get is a group of men hanging out here talking about what's happening. We're going to give all our hot take opinions that we might get a visit. I sent the link out to Gaz, Mr. Source Master himself, King David. I've been on the phone with for about an hour this morning. Hopefully he can get in here to kind of drop his bars, and we might get a few others. But what we have to do first before we start anything is welcome in a new panel member permanently, known as I Steel Rain, one half of what I consider to be the dynamic duo known as Living Split Screen. What's going on, brother? Welcome.
Mr. BoomStick XL, we are in the building, and I want to say thank you for just go ahead and making a key for me. The other day I came into the house, through the back door as usual, because I come through on the bike, man, and you just so happened to open this one door, and it was a bedroom that I could go ahead and organize my things, get really comfortable. I got a closet, got plenty of space. So I got my helmet hanging up, man, and I appreciate you welcoming me in. I think it's going to be a fantastic time that we're going to be able to get on here, get live, raw, and uncut, like I like to say. And again, it's just exchanging that energy to the community. So much love to the panel, much love to the chat. And yeah, man, let's see how these things move forward. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you joining us. It's going to be a lot of fun to have the live, raw, and uncut opinion, especially when you pull it back from the RTS view, as it's known, kind sir.
Absolutely.
But I want to welcome in also a gentleman. He's on vacation. He's hanging out. He's beating every game under the sun. Hargi Chani. What's up, brother? You're joining us. You got a PlayStation burning as a picture behind you. That's really it is. Rome is on fire, and it's not looking good right now. Again, it is perplexing. It is embarrassing, and it is almost damn right shameful that Sony continues to have these things happen. And when you consider the magnitude of what is out there, I mean, a full-on boss fights that I have seen with Wolverine, I have seen roadmaps that extend all the way out into 2031. Folks, we're in 2023 still. PS, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say, but we're glad to have you here. Again, I had asked you the other day, hey, this was originally supposed to be the end of year discussion for Xbox. And of course, this morning at 6:01, I got up to 19 DMs and I'm like, holy shit, what happened? And well, I rewrote the show this morning, but Hargeet, welcome.
Yeah. I've been playing myself, Christmas shopping, Christmas whatever stuff going on, and just been going through Cyberpunk, which is pretty good. I'm in the Phantom Liberty part of that right now, and then I heard about this, last night that this came out, and I was like, oh, okay, because
Yeah.
during Colt's show, Rand was seeing some of these leaks start to come out. And yeah, it's there's a lot of interesting information, and we'll get into it. But yeah, I've just been having fun playing. That's basically it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's there's a lot to play. There's been a hell of a year when it comes to gaming. No matter what platform you're on, there's something to play. But listen, glad to have you here. We're gonna get into it because, like I said, there is a lot to pile through. We've seen information from Hazardor Gaming. We've seen from the Black Viking, from J Rock. We've also seen stuff from Idle Sloth. So I mean, there's a lot of people out here putting out the information, and there is a lot to get into. So for the next 2 hours, folks, get ready. We're gonna break everything down. Daniel McGee, what's going on, brother? How you feeling?
Not much. I'm feeling very confused. I'm looking at a lot of the leaks and stuff that are coming out, and I'm like, there's some interesting things going on here. And then you read some of the surrounding information, and it very quickly changes to like, what are we doing with this? What's going on?
Yeah, it is, and we were saying in the green room. Actually, Hargeet was saying that it appears that Sony has unfortunately pivoted too late, and they are in the bumbling stage with trying to get what Microsoft has. And it's funny. I recall over this weekend the rhetoric of, well, Xbox is going third party, folks, get ready. And it's funny, we were all asking the question, where is the gaming media talking about the state of Sony? Well, because the gaming media are usually, not all, but some are cowards, and they will not move against Sony because, well, they're the number one platform. Someone did it for you. And now we know that they are terrified of Xbox. They have major concerns for Xbox Game Pass, and more so than that, they are trembling in their boots, folks, because of the Activision Blizzard King. And we're going to read it verbatim from the documents that has been put out there. Folks, listen, there are people trying to poo-poo this as it being fake leaks. It's not fake, folks. This is unfortunately a real thing. It's devastating to Insomniac as a developer. It's shameful that this continues to happen to Sony and PlayStation. I don't understand who is running the ship there, but this is bad. But before we start, Infinite Umbra, we were talking this morning in DMs at 6. Obviously, you work midnights. I was just getting up. There's a lot to get into. How you feeling, man?
Oh, I'm tired, but I'm up for this. It's when I saw the news break, I'm like, well, that show was changing in the morning, isn't it?
It sure did. It absolutely did.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, we got a lot to talk about, so I won't delay anything. But I do want to welcome Hargeet and, of course, our new permanent member and Steel Rain. I just wanted to let you know that I'm the leader here, and you follow the hierarchy. The hierarchy is me, then Danny, then you. As far as that, and that's all.
Oh, I hear that. I heard it was a democracy here. So
Here comes the hazing.
Sorry about that, John. I had someone rang the bell. I had to again.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
Yeah,
I don't have a
studio.
With our buddy Steel Rain real quick.
Was nice.
Establish things real quick.
You got you have to 1v1 me and Halo if you're trying to do some hazing or something. Like that's the only type of hazing that I know.
I'm putting Jasper in as my fill-in for me.
Jasper's
I don't know.
I don't know. That guy's a Halo professional.
That's fine. That's a good match. That's a good match.
So listen, what I want to do first, folks, because like I said, there really is a lot to uncover here. Obviously, we have to look at the timeline, but I want to start out, gentlemen, with the document where it's listed as industry major shifts and threats. And again, this is an official. This is part of the. Again, it's part of the leak. This came from Sony, folks. So, you can take it with a grain of salt. You can take it with a pinch of salt. Hell, you can take it with a mountain of salt. Whatever you want to do. This is the documents that have been put out there. and I'm going to read it verbatim. Again, it's listed as the industry major shifts and threats. The Call of Duty threat in 2027. Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard King for $69 billion could disrupt and threaten console gaming and game subscription markets. Then I have 3 bullet points here. Console. Shift from PlayStation to Xbox with timing and in-game differential as their weapons. Subscription. Microsoft's comprehensive ecosystem coupled with the exclusivity creates greater dominance. Sony impact. Massive threat to PlayStation Plus. Upwards of 1.5 billion of annual revenue threat, gap to fill, 45 million subs at $12 monthly versus times 12 months times 20% MP third party. Now it goes on to say day and date threat. Post acquisition, Microsoft will put Activision Blizzard games on Game Pass day and date. Here's where this is where it gets really hazy. The leapfrog effect. Activision Blizzard King provides incredible strategic value across live services, scale in mobile and PC storefront. In parentheses, they have BattleNet. It goes on to 3 bullet points. Microsoft can supply multi-game subscription services for 50%, console games 50%, PC 60%. Sony's pillars are already dated and behind the competition. 3rd bullet point, Sony impact, need to expand. And it goes on to say elusive perfect game subscription, and it has 3 bullet points. Premium content, expectations of free best-in-class games creates unsustainable model. Monthly and incremental subs won't cover investment. 2nd bullet point, unified mobile PC console experience doesn't exist. Form factor and computer power are too diverse. And the 3rd bullet point, Sony impact, premium sales model is at the central approach. Now, there is one more addition here, and this is where it comes into, and they specifically have this set off to the side, and it's listed, folks, as industry shift, the leapfrog. And it says this, Microsoft's acquisition of ABK position is, Microsoft's acquisition of ATVI positions it to leapfrog our current pillars, and has two bullet points. ATVI provides incredible strategic value across live service games, scale in mobile, and PC storefront. In addition, Microsoft is building a mobile game store to compete with Apple and Google. Steel Rain, I'm going to go to you first on this. Again, this is directly from Sony. This is not made up
from the leaks. Yeah,
not me going in the back room and scrubbing the dishes, trying to get this to look pretty. It is what it is. Sony is petrified of the Xbox effect, and it does seem like what Hargeet was saying about they pivoted too late. They apparently have.
Yeah, I mean, definitely from their perspective, at least from what we are finding out, because up to this point, we've been continued to be told differently. That the model that PlayStation had was still the end all to be all model, and that's what needs to work, or that's how you sell games and get people to buy games. And we're coming to find out more and more that this isn't the case. There were also further numbers that were leaked out, and unfortunately, I do want to start off with, having this information leaked out is already unfortunate unto itself. 2, the fact that PlayStation didn't even see that it was worth doing anything about this leaks or knowing what the leaks were to maybe hold this back, or maybe they didn't see a reason to hold it back because it doesn't change anything for them. I personally find it to be still a vulnerable point for them, and because along with that, you also have the leak of other people's personal information that have come along with it. So it's like, where are your values right now? And that's been always my question to Sony for a long time, because of, I'll be frank, because I am more multiplayer focused. I I've taken more of that RTS approach that I always talk about, pulling myself back from the world so I can look at the wider canvas and say, okay, well, Sony's been painting the industry in such a way, along with Nintendo in some ways, to say, hey, you need to buy a product to get our product. And as far as Microsoft at this point to do something differently and have convinced their player base that their way of doing things was the right way. We've been getting rumors and everything else, and now we're getting leaks that are solidifying the fact that they do not have a clue of how they need to proceed forward in the digital era of gaming. To be at the top, to be the apex predator, to all of a sudden to have this beast awaken from the underearth, I would have to imagine, especially with Microsoft backing, and I think that's what's really has surprised Sony more than anything, is the amount of backing that Xbox now has in comparison to what they were doing before. Now you start to see that, oh, well, yeah, they're starting to attack our pillars and them getting Activision, although Microsoft has also stated that that wasn't a necessity. It was just it was going to speed things up for them. So if that was their goal anyway, and they're proving the point that now Sony is proving to us that Microsoft made the right choice. They're going to get these games into Game Pass. They're going to get these games into services. They're going to make the consumer look at their choices differently, as they already are in the Xbox ecosystem, as we also got leaks previously that apparently, well, and Xbox also put out their numbers, but apparently Xbox has a higher sustainability rate than PlayStation does, although they sell hardware. So something is obviously working, and you could see why PlayStation would see that as some form of a threat. Now, again, I understand that people don't want to see this as a threat. You want to see this as fake, as this is falsified information, and this can't be true. Again, ask yourself, if you look at the numbers can't be fake for the amount that it cost Spider-Man to make. Sony has, from the leaks, have said that it cost $80 million to make Spider-Man, the first one. And then from there, Spider-Man 2, $300 million. It's becoming progressively gross in the amount that they're spending to make these games.
They're expecting Spider-Man 3 to cost them $400 million.
And at that point, and when people already have this thing, it's like, oh man, well, it's like 15 hours worth of gameplay and you're spending all this money. Where's the real return on investment? And when are you going to actually step into that? You're spending all this money, you don't have a service strategy? Why do other developers who are capable of doing this, spending either the same amount or less in most cases, are able to do much more with less seemingly, but your player base wants those expensive things? So how do you adapt that? And again, that's why I think the whole situation with factions is another home run hitter in the wrong direction for them. It was a foul play, honestly, because it has now exposed that even with them having Bungie, that they are right now kind of flailing in the wind, at least in my perspective, as how do we actually get a grip on what is happening for the future. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, Sony can rely on second and third party deals. Stellar Blade is going to come out. It's going to do probably decently, but it's not going to sell consoles. You're going to have Helldivers 2. It's going to be on PC and PlayStation. Why did they do that? People tell me all the time that, oh, it takes too much work. Why would they release games day and date on PC? Why are they doing it with Helldivers? Helldivers hasn't been relevant since back then, so why did they choose this one? Why can't you do it with Spider-Man 2? You're spending all of this money, but you're not recouping the cost. The same way people tell me, Sony, they're so good, they'll make you buy the game the first time on PlayStation, get an entire console, and then a year later, oh, you'll buy the game again because that's just how good. Why not see it more so, at least for me, how I see it? And again, maybe it's just me pulling back from the situation. Because of what I've seen from Xbox and how versatile that's been for me as a consumer, why wouldn't you want your software on more platforms for people to have access, especially if you're still going to get the majority of that profit? The reason being is because you're not ready. You don't have a platform that you, like a PlayStation store on PC, that you can drive traffic through. And that's what they're kind of holding off on, at least in my belief. So I think this is exposing a lot of the integral parts of what people have doubted, what we have, at least I think we have covered pretty well in the community over the last 3 years on the Xbox side of things, saying, hey, you guys may say that you got all these great games, and that's cool, and we like those games. But there's something that Xbox is doing differently that you guys aren't seeing or maybe don't understand yet, that PlayStation is hinting at. And I'm not saying those games got to go away, but something has to change because it's not sustainable.
It's not. It's certainly not. And the one thing we can absolutely say with a fact is that they have no rhyme or reason, based on the documents that I just read to you, that they're ever going to put their first party games in their streaming service day and date.
That is right now
never
they cannot do
going
that
to happen. First of all, I want to welcome in Fuzzy Belvedere. Fuzzy, what's going on, brother? Didn't expect you to be here, but listen, here you are. We have a lot to get into. I'm sure you're going to give us your hot take opinion. A couple of things. I want to catch up on the super chats. There's been quite a few of them. And folks, look, there are a lot of new names that I've never seen before, which means that we have people visiting and finding the channel for the first time. So normally we are a giving channel. We never ask for anything. But I'm going to humbly request that if you're new and you're finding the channel, hang out a bit, right? Walk around, stretch your, walk around in your socks. It's cool. Put your feet up, grab a drink. Check out Double Barrel Gaming. Folks, we are 150 subscribers away from 14K.
Hit that
now,
sub.
Again, that may not be a lot when you look at Colt Eastwood at 150K. You look at, the Iron Lords, they're rolling in on 25. You look at someone like Grandal Thor, a good friend of mine. He hit his 100K. It's a big deal for us. This is a small mom and pop kind of thing. And I literally mean it's just my wife and myself. That is it. I don't have a team of people working. I live stream 5 days a week, folks. And the one thing that you will never get on this channel is we're not going to hate monger and we're not going to clickbait you to sub or like the channel. You get what you get. We have a lot of fun. I cover all breaking news because I'm retired and I really like the industry a lot. And this year we were very lucky. We just got the stats in from YouTube. We had 1.5 million views this year, which is bonkers. That's bonkers for a small channel. So if you're new, I do, once again, humbly request that you consider subscribing to help us kind of get past that 14K. It would be really dope to get that before Christmas. It would something that we really are striving for. And if you're here and you're enjoying the content, please consider subscribing. But let me get to the super chats. And we have the first one of the day comes the way of Sin Vendetta, which I accidentally threw on the screen. I don't know why I did that, but I'm going to take it off. Sin Vendetta, good friend, generous friend of the program, says this after dropping a $10 super chat. Am I reading this right? Does Sony not have a new first-party game coming out until 25-26?
What it seems like.
And that's what it does seem like, which is, again, folks, you have to look at what happened. The Jim Ryan effect is real. And what Jim Ryan did is, got to remember, he's not in the console wars. He doesn't care about the platform. He's a business guy. He's there to make money for his investors. That's why he went from being the head of the European division to running all of Sony. And when he saw what was going on at Microsoft, remember, it took a long time to get grounded off the ground, no pun intended. Sea of Thieves took a long time to get there. Halo took a long time to get there. But you see, they stood with it. Yeah. And now they are making money. They're making money. They're actually making money on these IPs, these games as a service. Obviously, State of Decay 2 still consistently getting updates. You have, obviously Fallout 76. You have ESO. You have now Call of Duty. You have, the list goes on and on. Sony doesn't have these. They have single player experiences. As a matter of fact, in the league, which we'll get to, the Venom, the Lethal Protector, which is coming out in 2025, is an 8 to 10 hour experience. It said
it's like a Miles Morales, right?
It's like basically a Miles Morales with Venom. Now, listen, I'm not going to front here. I'm buying the game. I'm a Venom fan, and if you read the
I am
comics,
too.
I still read books. The Lethal Protector was a big part of
Venom
his
yeah.
story arc in Marvel. So,
as far as games in 2024, I'll just throw out that there's a potential for that second team at Sony Santa Monica that was making a smaller game.
yes.
That might come out. It's probably a AA type game, just like you're saying with the Venom. It'll be a smaller game.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have obviously MLB The Show. That's an annual. It'll just keep coming, right? So it'll be a 2024 edition. And then possibly Fair Games might make it in 2024. We'll see. So those are the three that I'm seeing. But yes, 2025 and onwards, by the way, it's not looking that good. The studios are kind of in turmoil. So a lot of it is going to be PS6. It's just the way it is. It's what I'm seeing. And it just got confirmed
already
from some of the roadmap stuff we just saw. So whereas Microsoft, I'm like, I don't know how to play these games. You have too much coming out. It's ridiculous.
And that's a good problem. That's a good problem. Listen, Fantas Archer, generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, I wonder what the shareholders have seen and think. Well, it can't be good. I can tell you that right now. These kind of leaks are not supposed to happen in 2023, and it is shocking to me that this continues to happen to Sony. I don't have an answer, folks. I am perplexed.
It's an odd thing, isn't it? This is what the third, fourth, fifth, sixth hack. I mean, and it's not okay. This has been happening for the last few years. It's don't you think you should be fixing your security? At some point,
it's like they lost their front door keys, right? The keys have been lost. Someone picked them up, and instead of changing the lock, they're not going to find us. And someone opens the door and they're like, oh, they found us. How did that happen?
I mean, I know it is technically hard stuff. I get that, but after the third one, you think your company CEO would be like, yo, this needs to stop. I need to we're going to halt. We're going to do something to secure our systems. I wanted 3 months. We're secure, period. I'm done with this. This is supposed to be a call to action after one event.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. What is happening?
It is.
I think the funniest part is Nintendo's normally the one known for not being the on the up and up on technology, and yet you never see anything like this happen to them. PlayStation, who's supposed to be kings of hardware and stuff, it should be a priority at some point.
Well, that's because Nintendo makes it so hard to jailbreak the devices anyway. So people stay off the internet once they do. So it's kind of hard to get caught what you stay off the grid.
But here's the thing: what will be the next story of Zelda? You will fight Ganon. It's a surprise twist. You will fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty consistent.
Ganon has 4 arms instead of 2.
Surprise twist for the next Mario. You will fight King Bowser.
You know what you're getting. That's the thing, though. You know what you're getting with PlayStation right now. I think that's what kills me. It's for the first time, I feel like, why is the conversation not happening the other way, where in 2022, although Game Pass was hitting, I felt sure, first party was lacking, but at least you have something. We're going into 2024, and I literally don't know what's coming outside of second and third party. And again, this isn't we need to attack PlayStation, and I'm worried about what PlayStation has got going on. But it's as a consumer, as somebody who's interested in gaming, what is happening right now? It's a really, really weird time that we're in, I think.
No, it's odd for sure. Jacob Novik drops an outstanding $10 super chat and says, hi all. I like to say that as someone who enjoys Insomniac games, specifically the Ratchet and Clank franchise, as it's my NR1 favorite franchise in the whole wide world, I'm devastated about the hack. Yeah, again, this is not good.
Suck.
They do. They hurt. I mean, they're gonna hurt Sony and Insomniac. This is one of those leaks that is gonna potentially devastate the company. I tell you one thing that's disappointing that you do learn from this is as a Ratchet and Clank stan right here. How did and people say call me an Xbox guy. How did I run out the door to go buy Ratchet and Clank? They only sold 2.2 million copies. They took an $8 million bath because it cost $81 million to make that game. And they lost $8 million because none of you PlayStation fans, the ones that are on the interwebs, poking and prodding and making fun of Xbox players, you guys and gals don't buy games.
The same
Like,
people that told us that we don't buy games.
Yeah, those
Not
people.
them.
And that's
Yeah,
their
no.
and that's their own created IP.
Yep, and that's their own. And Ratchet. Listen, let's call a spade a spade. The last two Ratchet and
just
Clanks were
saying,
dope
man.
AF for sure. Dean Rivera drops an outstanding
Some people enjoy
$5 super chat and says ponies calling the slides fake, but they have been proven real. But they champion Insomniac being delegated to only Marvel games instead of a new IP now. I tell you, and speaking of which, you know what you're never going to get, which is very sad, a Sunset Overdrive 2, because that
no, the first one didn't do good. Yeah.
It did not do good at all, which is, again, I beat
They're
that
not going
game.
back to
I
it.
play it regularly. It's still dope.
Unfortunate.
Why didn't you play it? I have no idea. Jacob Novich drops an additional $5 super chat and says, the best thing is that this slide won't at all affect the ABK deal, even if Lena Khan uses it proof. Yeah, it doesn't matter. This slide is internal, and they
This
made
is a
deals.
Sony
They would have already had it,
problem.
by
I
the
don't
way.
Yeah.
They would have already had it.
Yeah, they did.
The government would already have all this stuff.
Yeah, they absolutely would. Jacob Novik has become a channel member. Jacob, that's very kind of you, brother. Thank you for the generosity. Jonas the Dad here once again, who drops a very generous $2 super chat, says Game Pass, ZeniMax, ABK, Phil's legacy is cemented. Indeed it is. And remember, folks, he ain't done yet. Good generous friend of the program, Juan, once again has gifted 5 Double Barrel Gaming subscriptions. Brother, that's very
Appreciate
generous
you,
of you. Thank you so much. Mocha Smiley. Hey, Mocha, welcome back, brother. He drops a $5 super chat, and he doesn't even say anything. So welcome back, Mr. Smiley. Great to have you here, and thank you for the generosity. And Nintendon, the otaku, drops a generous $5 super chat and says 315 million budget for a 9-hour game with no replayability is crazy. Grounded probably cost 1/8 of that, and has 10 times more content and polish. I mean, you know what? I mean, you mentioned it
not
before,
wrong.
Steel Rain.
He's not.
Hargeet, I want to specifically focus on, the conversation that we're having regarding this leak and get your hot take. But there is something to be said about when you consider Grounded was made by 13 people and is continued on with a smaller studio that consistently updates it. They have over 10 million players. And someone like the tip of the spear, when you look at the Uncharted developers and Naughty Dog, which listen, I mean, they're not my tip of the spear, to be honest with you. Insomniac is my personal choice. But when you consider they have anywhere between and if you go to LinkedIn, I went yesterday, they have listed almost identical to the Coalition as having 201 to 500 employees. How can you not have multiplayer and single player going for your Naughty Dog, the tip of the spear by many's account, and it doesn't make any sense to me. But I want to kind of just reel this in and Hargeet, let's talk the fear that we have now documented from Sony. Like they are in I say it all the time, folks. I think they're in a pickle.
They are, and what I am finding interesting is that there finally are articles by the major industry folks talking about this, about how Sony is in fact afraid of the the Activision Blizzard deal. So look, the issues they have are things that they should have recognized but didn't, and this has to fall, unfortunately, on leadership, right? If you don't see that things are happening, that has to be leadership's problem, right? That's their job, to see where is my industry going, how am I positioning my products and services to meet those needs in 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 years, right? There's the near term, hey, I got to deliver the next couple of years, and then there's what's happening that I need to make sure I've got stuff for the future, right? And that comes down to your executive team, right? They have to figure that stuff out. Whether it's being driven by Xbox or others, at least Phil saw what's happening, right? The market has shifted. You can see the revenue already mobile, right? Mobile is winning. So if you're not going to be there, well, then you're not getting that pie, right? And so he's like, yo, I got to be here. There's just no choice. I got to be here, right? So they had that shift. They also saw, hey, PC's a big chunk. Well, and we freaking own that. That's Windows. Why aren't we here, right? So Let's make that a priority. Just makes sense, right? So they made those pivots, even with some people in our community getting annoyed by that. Too bad. It was the right decision. Day and date PC, start getting to mobile. This is just the right thing to do. Lo and behold, it works. They have the smallest console numbers. It doesn't matter. They have, with ABK, they're going to have more revenue than Sony and Nintendo. They're going to have more profit than both of them. They already have more monthly active users than both of them combined. They are kicking butt. They have the biggest platform. We just forget about it. It's called Windows. They have that platform. That's their platform. Their Xbox division controls Windows gaming and console gaming. So they really already have the top platform outside of Android. Android has the top platform because it's multi-billions of players, potential players, because they don't all play games, but they have a lot of Android phones out there. That's fair. So, but then it's Microsoft, and then it comes down to people like Apple, Nintendo, and Sony. At which point you start looking at it and saying, well, doesn't Sony actually have the least amount? Because like Apple is several hundred million, if not 5, 6, 7, 100 million, right? Nintendo's got more consoles than PlayStation. So PlayStation's console dominance is based on a performance characteristic. But that's diminishing, and that's not going to hold in 10 years. That's just not going to be an issue. So that's a problem for them. They have to see that. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But what they're showing us is that they came to this realization too late. And now they're trying to pivot once the entire industry's already decided that, except for Nintendo. But the problem with that is Nintendo does not need anybody else. They take 80% of their revenue from their own games. They're fine. They do not need anyone else. They're happy, right? If they participate in this and they start moving to everything else as well, they'll just make that much more money. I mean, as it is, their games sell like 20 million copies on average. They don't care. That's fine. They're happy, right? And their profits already are, without ABK, Xbox and PlayStation's profits combined. They're happy, right? So they'll just continue their thing. If they want to participate more, fair. They'll get even more money. That's awesome. But PlayStation kind of lives on third parties right now. And what are they going to do when that dries up? Because at this point, and you're seeing the shift, not just from public statements, the industry's noticing that you can't just skip Xbox anymore.
Yeah.
So once that happens, once you don't get those by default, these games only come to PlayStation things, and like all the publishers are like, no, I think we're going to put it on Xbox too. What do you got?
A PC at least,
right? And there is that, right? And some games just do come to PC. Baldur's Gate, for instance, like it's a PC type game. It started there, it did its thing, and then eventually ported to consoles. And there are RTSs that are generally on PC anyway, and maybe some will port over, but and there are a lot of indies that just stay on PC. That's fine, right? But if you're going to come to console, usually that's not a skip Xbox anymore. It's also not going to be a skip Nintendo anymore. What is your market then? Where do you bring value? Well, it was these cinematic experience things that they're saying cost too much, and the costs keep escalating. And well, sorry, PlayStation players, you don't buy enough games. That's just a fact. Don't take my word for it. Take their word for it. They're saying you don't buy enough games. There are parts of this leak that they want to up their costs, but their game costs by $20. So from $70 to $90, $100. How far are they going to push this? And how far are players going to keep going to keep paying $90, $100, $120 for the next God of War, the next Last of Us? I don't know. Like, the beauty on our side is I pay my monthly fee and I just get everything. I don't have to worry about it, including MLB The Show, which is their first party title. But hey, whatever.
Still not on their service, by the way. PS, by the way, still not on PlayStation Plus, but in Xbox Game Pass.
So look, these leaks are disheartening from a perspective of the company that doesn't get to tell you what they want to, especially Insomniac, right? They should be able to deliver the games when they want to, give you the surprises of, hey, Venom is coming, and here's what it looks like, right? But now we already know. Right. And so that surprise is kind of gone. That sucks. Right. I don't like that for the studio. 100%. But we are getting a lot of this background information, just like the FTC leaks of the corporate Sony PlayStation, and to see where they're headed. And yeah, this stuff just it echoes all the stuff that we've been saying. I don't see the roadmap. I don't see the future. What are they doing? Why are they not looking at these obvious things? PC day and date should just be a thing. And they need to get to that level. And it looks like they will eventually do that. There's just no choice. You can't just say, I'm going to put it here, take away all the enthusiasm 2.5, 3 years later, and put it on PC. And people are going to say, hey, I'll pay full amount for that. Let me pay $90 for that. No, it's not going to happen. You need to put it on day and date. That stuff needs to stop happening. They need to get to that point of saying, no, follow that model, get the sales, make the game profitable. That's the point, right? I don't know when that switch happens. You said, Boom, that they're never going to do day and dates and they're never going to do stuff in their streaming. The thing is, Sony recognized something's wrong, right? The leadership at PlayStation is being changed. Whether that's really Jim is retiring or not, it's changing. And with that change, we have no idea what happens, right? Because you could get a Phil Spencer type person coming in saying, yo, this is all stupid. This is what we need to do. Awesome. Let's go fix it. Here are the things and it's going to take them 5 to 10 years, just like it took Phil. There's no way to take a massive behemoth like that and turn it around in 10 seconds. It's not going to happen. It'll take them time, but they can do it. It's up to them to make that happen. They still have heavy brand recognition, massive amounts of consoles being sold. So I wouldn't count them out. They're not dead. They're not done, but they are on the path of decline. And it's up to them to say, wait, we're on decline. We need to go up. And they're showing that, yes, they understand they're on decline and they need to do something to fix that. And Activision is a big instigator to what needs to happen, how they need to pivot, because Microsoft is not kidding anymore, right? They are coming. And if you don't do something, you're going to get steamrolled. You need to keep doing stuff, which is good for the industry, right? It means that everybody has to compete. That's a good thing. However, they are behind the 8 ball here. They need to do some stuff. They need to do a lot of things. To buy one little dinky mobile company that hasn't put out a game, that's not where you need to be. They need to go buy somebody big to get into mobile with some relevance. And, unfortunately, the thing they tried to do to buy Bungie to bring in live service, which I don't know if that was ever going to work. It did not work.
No,
right?
Unfortunately, the question has been asked, Target, who saves the savior? Because remember that's
J-Rock with that awesome line, who saves the savior? I love it. And I don't see, I have no idea how Sony would help Bungie, right? The whole point was Bungie was supposed to bring that knowledge.
That knowledge of multiplayer to them. Games as a service.
I mean, like Naughty Dog couldn't figure it out. They're canceling their game. I don't know. I don't know what happens with Bungie. That's a whole other discussion. But yeah, the leaks do kind of just showcase, hey, the stuff we've been talking about on this side of the aisle is kind of true. And we've been just seeing it. Yeah. And we're like, yo, what's going on your side? Right? Why aren't you complaining? Right? And so finally calling complaints today about, hey, there's no games being like showcased. Why aren't you showing stuff? Yeah, there's a lot more they need to do too, and they need to get there. The unsustainability is something that Sean Layden had talked about a while ago, because he could see it going forward. It's like, yo, this isn't going to work. I can't keep spending more and more and more and more on these single player experiences.
Look at the price increase just on Spider-Man alone. Spider-Man 2018, $80 million, right?
Yeah, go to game.
I don't know what I didn't see the price range for Miles Morales, but it was a smaller entry.
Yep.
But Spider-Man 2 was hundreds of millions of dollars, and we don't know. I mean, listen, we know that in the first week they sold 5 million. But the one thing that we did learn, not on this leak, but the one before it, is that Sony equally spends the same amount. It's usually very close to what they cost to make the game and how they advertise it. So if they spend $200 million
on marketing
to make Spider-Man 2, they probably spent upwards of $200 million on the marketing. That means that, which is, I mean, again, I'm no mathematician, folks, by any stretch of the truth. That's $400 million that they have to figure out. And we learned that something like Ratchet and Clank, a smaller experience, was $81 million. And they wind up taking an $8 million bath on that game because only 2.2 million people bought it, which is shocking to me. It's an amazing game. Why did more people buy it? I have no
This
idea.
doesn't appeal to everybody.
Yeah, and again, it doesn't. I'm an old cat, so I like platformers. That's why it appeals to me.
Which is
But
fair,
let's bring in Danny McGee, and then we'll bring Infinite Umber in and Fuzzy, and then we're gonna get into one of the most perplexing, disappointing, and concerning parts of the leak, and that is what they are, what Sony is going to do in 2027, and how much they're going to try and charge us for their single player games. They are insane. We'll get to that in a second. Daniel McGee, let's talk about it, brother. These leaks are pretty terrible. And like I said, as much as I feel bad for Insomniac, because I do agree with Hargeet, a company or a developer of their stature, and quite frankly, they are the tip of the spear for me when it comes to PlayStation Studios. They have earned the right to tell us when they're going to put out a game. And it's unfortunate that we have learned up until 2031 that we're getting X-Men and we're getting Wolverine and we're getting and there was a proposed multiplayer Spider-Man which was canceled, which again, I guess Sony doesn't do multiplayer. Go figure. What are your thoughts on everything that we're breaking down so far?
So yeah, I mean, it's incredibly disappointing that this all leaked out. This is stuff that I would have liked to have, gotten to get the hype cycle for. Getting a Venom game is cool. Getting like the X-Men one that's coming up apparently in like forever years. It's like a decade from now, but whatever. It'll be cool when it happens. Like that all would have been really cool to have seen properly announced, right? Like that would have been great. I do think it's especially disappointing that this happened to Insomniac because they've been sort of hard carrying the PS5 generation so far. And so for it to be that studio who now we know everything that they're going to be working on, with probably some exception. I imagine that just things change over time, especially if we're looking at things that are a decade out, right? There might be like, oh, hey, that X-Men game or movie didn't hit super well. Maybe we want to pivot to something else or something. I don't know. It's like they have so many years to decide if like they're going to do something different with that. So I don't want to take the stuff that's super far out as like 100% gospel truth. Like that's what they're going to stick to. Because I think we also saw that with like the Bethesda roadmap that got leaked out a while ago. It was like, yeah, some of this is not happening, right? And I'm also curious to find out if that roadmap was before or after the shift to like gas games, because I have to assume that something that Insomniac is working on is a gas title, right? Because that was something that specifically we heard they were upset that they were being asked to work on one, and I always assumed it was the Spider-Verse title that we're hearing now has potentially been canceled. So the fact that that's not on there, it's like, is this roadmap from before they started working on it, or is it from like today when they stopped working on it, right? So I have a lot of questions as far as that's concerned. But otherwise, it's just like, I don't know. It's really cool because there's a lot of stuff that I'm looking at and I'm like, wow, I can't wait to play that. And then on the exact same situation, it's like, but I'm not going to play it for like a decade, so I didn't need to know about it right now. You know what I mean? It's a bummer. The aspect of it where they're afraid of like Game Pass and Xbox, I think that's all stuff that should have been pretty obvious already. Like we've been able to see them making the pivot to do things that Xbox has been doing, and we already knew that they thought that their own business model wasn't sustainable, right? That's why they made their big shift to games as a service games. So I don't think necessarily that any of this is surprising. I think it's illuminating to see them say it so like plainly. I think in some of those slides, they were just like, our thing is out of date and their thing is really good. And I'm surprised to hear them use language that is that strong. Like I would have thought that they would have sugarcoated it maybe a little bit to their own people internally, but I guess not. But yeah, otherwise I don't think that any part of that is surprising, right? We knew that the budgets of their games were ballooning. We heard not even Jim Ryan, but Sean Layden say that, right? Where it was like, this is kind of unsustainable. We can't continue to do this because if one or two of these games don't make their money back, then we're going under.
Daniel, to that point, I guess the question would be like, who was the target audience of that information, right?
Yeah.
It could have been like the executives of Insomniac and not the general population of PlayStation, right?
Right.
So you're right. That may be not something they want to actually showcase to their normal people or anybody, but
it's very strange. Like just the language of it is a lot more just like matter of fact than I would have expected to be. Like whenever I think of anything that's produced by a businessman, I expect it to be like, buzzwords and things like that. Whereas this one felt very just like, hey, we're doing good in some places and we're messing up in some other places, and we need to do better, and this is bad and this is bad and you should fix it. So I don't know. I think there's a lot more information that's going to come out about this that I'm very interested to see. Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully they like paid some lesser amount than the $2 million they were asking for, which by the way was like, that's like nothing for Sony. If it was being ransomed back, honestly, they probably should have just paid it. Like, honestly, it's possible that they did pay it and they just leaked it anyway, because ransomware people are kind of dickheads that.
Could be possible.
But like, it's rough. I hope that because they said they also had personal information about the devs. I hope that that's stayed safe.
To me as my concern. Real quick, Gamer King in the chat is making a very, very finite suggestion, and I have to disagree with him. He says everyone on the panel wants PlayStation to die. They don't want to admit that. Listen, dude, this is the Xbox Factor podcast. I mean, welcome. I don't know what to tell you. You tuned into an Xbox show, but the point of the matter is I bet you I have more trophies than you do, because I buy everything PlayStation. I support all the consoles. This is one of 5 shows weekly that I do. I don't do a PlayStation show. PlayStation is third for me. It's Xbox, it's Nintendo Switch, and then of course it's PlayStation for exclusives. That's all I play on the box. Sorry.
That's how it'll be in real life too, soon enough, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's very true. So I have to disagree with you there, Gamer King. We do not want PlayStation to die. No one on this panel today or any day has ever suggested that. Sony, the problem with Sony, and let me get this out there, and I'll let Daniel continue.
Yeah.
Is Sony got fat sitting on their throne?
They just need to be humble.
Doing nothing. Okay. All they have done, yes, they release amazing first-party single-player story-driven titles. I'm a huge fan of it. I'm one of the first dudes on this panel and many others to cap for Sony, because that's the kind of game. I'm a selfish gamer. Yeah. I like playing single-player experiences. I like putting on my headphones and getting lost in the character. That's what Sony does for me as a fan. That's why I have a PlayStation 5. But let's not make excuses. Yeah. They have been ballsy and arrogant, and all they have done to their fans is upcharge you and me on everything: controllers, cameras. Their streaming service went up $40 and gave you nothing for it. A slim version of the PS5 that's supposed to be cheaper to make, they raised by $50. And instead of giving you the vertical stand, because most people stand it that way, they want to charge you $30 for that. Let's not make excuses for them. They have made this bed, and it sucks, and now they have to lie in it. Please continue, Daniel.
Yeah, no, I mean, just to add on to that, I don't think any of us actually want PlayStation to die. Actually, I don't even think Microsoft would want PlayStation to die. I think that would be
terrible for Microsoft.
Yeah, it would be awful.
It would be awful.
They would become a monopoly, and they would be government regulated. They don't want that at all.
I mean, we already saw.
They will literally go third party before that happens.
Yeah,
they did that to Apple. PlayStation, if that happened,
they did that to Apple. They rescued the hell out of them because they did not want to be that. They will do. Trust me, they will go put money into Sony to make sure they don't die. That's not what we're looking for here.
But
and nobody wants to have Microsoft.
I don't think that's a risk either, right? Like, and Hargeet said this earlier too. It's like, I don't think this is like them saying that is not like PlayStation is going to die or whatever. It's just that they are falling behind. They're kind of slipping in terms of keeping up with like modern situations, right? They aren't making a very good subscription service argument. They aren't moving into games as a service in any meaningful way. Like, all their games that they tried to do it are getting canceled and stuff. Like, it's a rough time over at PlayStation. I know it's maybe hard to see that from the outside sometimes because they don't say anything, so it's hard to hear like when things do come out that like this is why, right? The reason that 2023 was so weak for them on games, and why 2024 is probably also going to be very weak for them on games in terms of first party at least, is because they're trying some things and those things aren't working out, and that's normal, right? We heard about it over on, I'm imagining a lot of people who watch this show also watch the Iron Lords. Over there, they had a really great interview with Peter Moore, and he said when you're in the lead, you need to make changes, right? You need to push, you need to burn the house down and rebuild it in a new way and figure out what the next step forward is, because you are at the front of the industry. And I don't think they did a very good job of that. And this is them sort of paying that price. That's it. They'll be fine. Like, PlayStation is not going anywhere. Their franchises are strong. Their sales are strong. They're going to make plenty of money. We might see some more layoffs or something, but we're probably going to see that regardless. It's just they are having troubles and they need to fix it. That's all.
I wonder for how long does that last, though?
Yeah.
Well,
one of the things
say
about
this, guys,
sustainability.
more leaks have come out. I got someone that just dropped this megaton stuff into here. Apparently, the canceled multiplayer was Marvel Spider-Man meets GTA Online, and it looks dope.
You telling me Spider-Man was going to run around with the blicky? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
It actually has pictures
of
multiple Spider-Man.
Spider-Man had enough. He's like, look, I'm tired of being showing up my miles.
They have it looks. I mean, I'm looking at it's
the fact that they have not teased. They've had Spider-Man. Sony has had Spider-Man for how long? The fact that they have not had Spider-Man multiverse game already, where you can create your own version of Spider-Man, woman, whatever. It's one of the most diverse characters to do it with.
Yeah,
especially with recent happenings. And
what's crazy is
feels
the
like
artwork
they're treading the same path.
You would have loved this, Steel. They have artwork of the characters, and Spider-Gwen looks freaking amazing, dude.
Gotta see this.
This has folks. You don't understand if you missed out on Saturday's Living Split Screen.
Oh man,
Steel and Pong were on fire, especially talking about how disappointing they just gave up on The Last of Us Online, as it's known. And Steel Reigns is like, listen, I don't have a reason to buy a PS5. In fact, Steel, I don't have to speak for you. You right here. You broke it down. And this would have been another reason for you as a multiplayer gamer to go out and buy a PlayStation 5, but you won't now because, well, apparently Sony doesn't do multiplayer. They don't know how, even though they've done it in the PlayStation 2 and 3 era. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's multifaceted. It's a multifaceted thing for sure. I mean, again, I don't have a reason to own a library over there. The type of games that I'm looking for, and again, I constantly bring that up in conversation. Nobody will ever guess the reason what got me to get a PlayStation 4, and I don't have that similar reason to get a PlayStation 5. So it's just like, until I get that, Factions was going to be the number one thing for that. I've been waiting for that. Again, they have one of the best forms of third-person multiplayer outside of Gears, and literally, we're going to get a Marcus Phoenix collection before we ever get Factions.
Yeah, we sure are. I can tell you that for an absolute fact. But listen, Infinite Umbra, Dan, did you finish your point, brother?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so let's bring in Infinite Umbra. Let's get your hot take on this, because again, we have to get into the pricing aspect, something that Sony is unfortunately known for in a bad light, at least in my opinion. Before we get to that, though, I want to get your opinion on what everyone has already brought to the table. What are your thoughts on this massive leak and the concern that they have for Xbox and the platform and Xbox Game Pass? Umbra, you there, brother?
Oh yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I think I must have pressed the button, but I would say they're right to be afraid. Clearly, what they're doing here, as I was saying a second ago, is unsustainable, right? That's the thing Sean Layden told us, right? I think he was speaking of Sony there. He wasn't speaking of Microsoft, because Microsoft is ahead of the game and ahead of the curve when it comes to how they're handling it. So to the quote that Danny was speaking about with Peter Moore, like, I don't think even just necessarily the first person or the person in the first place necessarily makes the rules and makes the changes. I think Microsoft has been doing that, even being in third place for all this time. They've set the standard of what gaming will lead to, even to their detriment. The Xbox One generation being that, you know what I mean? How they were moving toward those things that we now have regularly, you know what I mean? And I think Sony, to their own detriment, wanted to stay to that traditional model, the premium sales model, as they call it, right? But they know this is unsustainable. They say it in these notes right here. It says premium content, expectation of free best in class games creates unsustainable model. They can't do what Microsoft does. And I don't want to sound like King, but they can't do what I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do all that. But listen, the thing is that it comes down to this. First and foremost, these guys were right? These guys on the panel, you guys hit it on the head. I'll go further and say that to the devs who are affected, of course, because of their business being put out there, obviously we feel for them. We wouldn't want their information put out like that. That's terrible. But we did get a lot of information. And man, this was a early Christmas gift as far as things to come. And I think you could be pleased to know, even as a PlayStation fan, of the games to come to you. So you got Wolverine, you got X-Men, you got all these things listed. I'm talking about X-Men 1 through 3, by the way. They have guaranteed already. Of course, barring that they sell 6 million copies, of course, and which they will, because they'll bundle the hell out of it, which tells you their model of why they bundle everything, by the way. But sustainability, we go back to that, and we go to this fear here that we see in this industry major shifts and threats slide, right? And what I like to do is when I sit back, I don't really go on. If you look at my Twitter page, I don't typically go on there and just start trashing PlayStation fanboys and their narratives. I kind of sit back and see how they play it out. I let other people who do the crumb side thing kind of make videos and make fun of them, and I laugh with them, right? But I pay attention to the narratives that our Hoove brothers kind of come up with. And over time, you see these things. Even if you go to Jim Ryan, where the narrative that he created and tried to use just doesn't jive with reality. If you remember when the whole Activision thing went through, you got conflicting stories. You got one that said, we'll be fine, even with, we'll be fine, even with them getting ABK and Call of Duty. When, we'll be okay. Then, but before that, you had the we can't survive, or what? How did they frame it? How did they put that? He said that.
Who, Jim Ryan?
Yeah, hey, it was
that their console business would never recover.
Never recover. That was it.
Yeah.
And if you look at the slide, that's the actual truth of what he felt, not what they told you. What this did to me, in my opinion, is it illuminated Sony's PR. What I think where Sony has been solid in PR more so than Microsoft in some ways, this right here with these leaks and things like that, I think shed a light on them more so than anything else we could say. And these are the things we've been talking about, by the way. If you look at these bullet points and the fear that they have here and why they're worried about how they can't sustain and how they can't keep up with what Microsoft is doing with the subscriptions, the shift that they're worried about from PlayStation to Xbox. These are all the things and the talking points we have all had on these podcasts. I've heard them. I've listened to other people say it. I know I've said it. But if you listen to our Hoove brothers, if you listen to PlayStation themselves, they want to give you the front of confidence, which they should. That's what they wanted to put out there. But this right here, this leak, hurts that. And I saw once it was leaked, we had a few of our brothers from the stables so quick to be like, how do we know this is real? So they denied this, but you saw the Wolverine gameplay and everything, and the slides and the characters and the voice actors and the character models, and they believe that. So why is this not believable? But that was, you see, so denial, right? But I think again, this just kind of shifts or sheds light that Microsoft, what they're doing is absolutely correct. And I think PlayStation might suffer from that. To go back to Gamer King, we absolutely, and I said this to him on Twitter, I don't know why he keeps coming on here saying this right here, but brother, settle down, man. It's all right. You can come here to our side of things, by the way. We welcome you in. But we don't want PlayStation to fail. We don't want them to go out of business. None of us want that. It'll be dumb. We know that we don't want anybody to have a monopolistic situation here when it comes to gaming. We want Microsoft to stay honest too. And because when you don't, and when you become the market leader like Sony, that what leads to ridiculous things like $70 price games and $80 price games and eventually $100 price games, which, by the way, I've also heard our Hoove brothers saying that they would gladly pay in these spaces. Not joking. And they've decried Xbox gamers as broke, as
welfare pass.
Welfare pass.
Hashtag welfare pass. Isn't that a thing which, again, is not only insulting, but the most stupid thing I've ever said? And I'm going to tell you this right now. Listen, I need subs because I'm trying to get to 14K. But if you are that stupid to say those words together, welfare pass, then I don't want you as a fan anyway. because that's just straight up embarrassing, and you're embarrassing yourself, and you're showing what little intelligence you actually have. It's not welfare pass. What Microsoft is doing, and I've said this before, is it allows everyone, regardless of your financial station, to be a part of gaming. And you know what? In 2023, that should be commended, not made fun of. Because right now, life sucks for a lot of people, especially when it comes to putting food on the table. And you know what? Maybe you're not affected, but what about your neighbor? What about your neighbor's kids? What about your cousin across the that's living in the Midwest? What about them? So before you
a lot
make
of them don't
stupid
care.
statements,
Yeah.
think about it. Think outside of yourself.
A lot of them don't. A lot of them can't.
Lies of ponies.
There you go. Lies of ponies. I love it. Look at that.
Oh,
That's
I see you
great.
changed your background. That's
Oh my
the thing.
God, lies of ponies. I love it.
That's the thing I've noticed, that our Hoove brothers lack this empathy that we talk about here. And it's so funny because Gamer King, I can almost guarantee that you went to a lot of these PlayStation podcasts who are extra toxic towards Xbox gamers and everything, where they absolutely wanted Xbox to go out of business. I've seen it for decades where they've been saying this. I know I'm not the only one that's seen it, where they want Xbox to go out. We are actually the opposite. I don't think it would be wise, and I don't think it should be wise of you guys to say you want any of these major publishers to go out of business either. I think it's pretty stupid and short-sighted. But I think that Sony, is contrary to what you all believe, that their poo doesn't smell like roses necessarily. I think you all have it misconstrued. But again, I think these things shed lights. We see a ton of things, even the sales of PC games on Steam, that I guess it leads to us knowing that it won't necessarily be a day and date thing for them. It just doesn't work with their model. And I don't know how that's going to play out for Sony in the long run. But we already know that Microsoft is in a good seating. And clearly whoever wrote this slide here understands that too. So
yeah, no, it's a great point. Listen, before we bring in Fuzzy Belvedere, let me just catch up on the super chats. First of all, Awful Grim Bones drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Just saying, what's up, gamers? What's up to you, brother? Thank you for the generosity. Happy holidays to you and yours." Gamers Play HUD Zero, who's been a channel member, folks, for 25 months, brother. That is so generous of you. He says, "Happy holidays, Boom and panel members. Did you see the Amazon numbers for the Xbox Series X? Yes, it's up 300%. And by the way, Best Buy has the Series X bundle for $339. What are you waiting for? Get out and go buy one, because that's just ridiculous. If you're waiting on Xbox, probably now is the best time to go." He says, "I say consoles are still fair game at Xbox World Order." Yeah, indeed it is. Homeless Bird, who's been a channel member for 2 months. Thank you so much for that, and welcome to the program as always. And he says, "Currently charming, tricking, loving my way through Baldur's Gate 3 as a pint-sized Casanova gnome bard, and am enjoying my time thoroughly. Happy holidays to all." Yeah, I'm 3 or 4 hours in. Again, it's going over the mohawk a little bit. It's very technical. I had to actually take a break from AAA games, even though some people are like, "Oh, it's not AAA."
Oh, okay.
Baldur's Gate 3 is a AAA game. I'm playing shumps now. I just want to play twin stick shooters or old school shooters. I bought a couple. I played some gameplay yesterday of Tesla versus Lovecraft. Phenomenal twin stick shooter. We have
Boom.
Ebonics.
If you haven't, you need to check out Death Must Die also.
I did not know about that
Death
one.
Must Die.
Death Must
It's
Die.
like it's like Hades and Vampire Survivor combined. It's
All right, I'm writing it down.
addictive.
Hold on a
it's
second.
like
Death
Hades,
Must-
you say? Oh, I might have to look into that.
It's like Hades combined with Vampire Survivor.
Must Die.
It
I'm
is
gonna-
addictive as heck.
It's
Yeah,
on
okay,
is
I'm
in
gonna-
full
I'm
effect.
gonna
Xbox
check-
or
Check that out.
I'm not completely sure. I'm playing it on Steam currently, but it doesn't take a lot to run overall. But yeah, definitely if it's available everywhere, definitely check it out. Death Must Die.
I'd definitely buy that on Xbox. I don't know if it would be on Switch, because I'd buy a Switch there too as well. Thank you for the suggestion. Ebonics drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "Sony was unstoppable, but with every victory, complacency. They did not reinvest, but spent more externally to be exclusive. If you only buy exclusivity, you will lose it." That's a strong point right there. Reggie Mobile 9 drops an outstanding $10 super chat and says, "Great show, Boom and Company. I think Sony has rested on its popularity for far too long and the ability to sell millions of consoles simply because of that brand fame without any innovation will hurt them. It's hurting them right now." Chaos Theory 81, who's been a channel member, wow, for 49 months, brother. That is so generous of you. Thank you. He says, "Happy holidays, Boom and Panel." And happy holidays to you and yours, brother. And Thunderdome Gaming Society, who's been a channel member for 3 months, says this: "So the new narrative is PlayStation has no games. Hashtag fire it up." I mean, you're not wrong. And welcome to the program and happy holidays to you and yours, brother. Fuzzy, come on, let's get you in here, man. We got a lot to get into. This is not looking good for Sony. We've talked about this before. A lot of people still feel a type of way about how they nickel and dime their fans. And it's shocking to me that, like, I think it was Infinite Umbrella that said in Spaces, there were people saying, "Oh no, charge me $100 for their games, it's worth it." You're insane. You are insane asking to be charged more. Like, the hashtag aka Everborn, charge them more. It's real. It's crazy. Let's talk about it.
Well, the funniest thing is, I do remember a report early in the generation where it was already mentioned that Sony wanted to charge 80 or 90 this generation for their
They were
games.
stopped by 2K. 2K told them you're going to collapse the market if you do. Yeah,
exactly. So it's not a surprise that that's in these documents and that they would try it again with the next generation, doing that incremental increase kind of thing. But yeah, they're kind of playing it weird right now, because I think the thing that's funny is that they gave away the God of War DLC, that's that roguelike type thing, for free, but yet they're going to charge you $10 if you already owned The Last of Us. Like, if anything, that one should be the free one and then charge for the DLC. But it's like they're trying to make it appear like they're not the bad guy to some extent. But then this, I guess for Spider-Man 3, they're going to break it up into like 3 components where you could either buy the full, I guess, $70 portion, and then they do an upgrade thing later for, I guess, part 2, or you could buy part 1 for 50, part 2 for 50, and maybe the multiplayer component for another 50. So it's weird how, I guess, with the way their player base is mainly focused on these single player games, they play them, maybe 1 or 2 playthroughs, and then that's it. And there's no additional way to monetize them. They're going to have to find more unique ways, which everybody thought gas game or games as a service would have been like the perfect transition for them, seeing how it's working over at Xbox. But they already canceled Factions 2. I already knew about a multiplayer Marvel game that Insomniac was working on, and I remember having that confirmed by somebody that was working with Marvel a while ago. But I guess that one got canceled. But the original, I think the original plan that was discussed was that it wasn't going to only be Spider-Man, but seeing that GTA meets Spider-Man type of thing, that would have been a huge home run for them. The fact that they're either afraid to give it a try or that they're unwilling to add that extra expense of growing those teams to be able to do it feels weird to me. Like, if you already have slides of how, whether it's for court related, documents and arguments, or if it's actually what they're kind of feeling the pressure of with this ABK deal, you would think that these, like, at least if you're afraid on new IP or you're kind of like risk averse, you would try to at least take that IP that is going to hit, like something like a Marvel character, make it into that multiplayer, games as a service type of title. Don't make the same mistakes that they did with the Avengers, because the core game was good, but it was like their upgrade system and all that, the stuff that they would try to monetize wasn't the greatest approach. But Sony should have learned from all the other examples, including Bungie, although, for the most part, Bungie is kind of stumbling over their own 2 feet right now. But in the grand scheme of things, they should have all been able to come together and realize, okay, what is Fortnite doing right? What was PUBG doing right before Fortnite kind of completely obliterated it, kind of thing? What are some of the other big players like Xbox where, they have 15 to 30 million players on a lot of their games as a service. What are they doing to keep these people engaged and coming back? Or when they have a lull, how do they rebound from that lull? And I don't understand why they didn't stick to that Spider-Man meets GTA kind of thing, or like with the one leak that we saw a while ago with Gorilla with their multiplayer
Horizon.
It looked more like a Fortnite game, which okay, I get it. Fortnite is extremely popular, and people don't seem to care about the caricature type graphics on some of this stuff. But for me, it would have made more sense if they just did like a Monster Hunter version or kind of like a knockoff, monetize that, use their realistic graphics, which are praised for the Horizon series, and go forward with that. To me, it would make more sense. Like, and it doesn't seem like they're monetizing GT7 to some extent, but it's one of those things where that's where they're really raping. Well, I wouldn't say raping their customers, but they're raking them over the coals in comparison. Where GT Sport, $5 could get you a $5 million car. $5 now gets you maybe a $50,000 car. So
yeah, no, you talked about that.
Today's price is not yesterday's price. Is that what you're trying to say?
Even paying that is still crazy to me. That's
true.
Wow.
That's the new generation of horse armor right there.
Yeah, but Sony at some point has to realize that, like everybody said already, it's not sustainable with the single player model continuing into this next generation and moving forward. They have to figure out a way to integrate the PC market space, which they've had some good things that have shown in the leak, which I'll put this out there first. As a gamer, I'm kind of torn on the leak for the fact that, it hurts, some of the surprise and wonder and all that stuff. But a majority of me is like kind of excited because considering they haven't had a showcase of worth anything as of late, this is a good insight as far as at least for Insomniac. I wish, I don't wish that they get hacked further, but I would have loved to have seen what Polyphony Digital has up their sleeve, or what Sony Santa Monica has up their sleeve. Because right now, if it's only Insomniac continuing to carry PlayStation, there is a major problem at this point. But yeah, I want to see them figure something out sooner rather than later. Because if they continue to go down this route where it's just going to be the single player game, we're going to split it up and sell you a remaster or this additional content, and that's how we're going to monetize things, I think it's going to hurt them worse than reinvesting or continuing on with projects like Factions 2 or that GTA Spider-Verse kind of thing. Those I think would be more promising. Or what we've all kind of called for before would be like things like Twisted Metal instead of like your Destruction All-Stars, or something like SOCOM, which at this point, considering the popularity of a scam game like the day before, you would think Factions and SOCOM would be easy for them to kind of pick from that low-hanging fruit tree.
Legacy IP, it literally makes no sense why they're not tapping into it. All three titles that you mentioned are titles that people have been asking for. Maybe, and it's safe to say that maybe they don't have the same multiplayer base, but then again, they kind of do with Call of Duty. So if they'll come over to PlayStation 5 to play Call of Duty and will continue to support, because that's where it's best selling right now, I would imagine that if Sony had a first party IP that with the prowess that's known as a SOCOM or Twisted Metal, or for instance, a Resistance, Fall of Man from you can't give Insomniac anymore. They're already doing enough, right? So it's people will come and play multiplayer. And again, when you look at some of the things that have been canceled just in the last week, right? Just in the last week, folks, we have the cancellation of The Last of Us Factions Online gone. Yep. And then we get the information that there was actually going to be a Spider-Man meets GTA Online, which, like Steel Rain said, would have been huge for them, and it's gone. Yeah. And it's not even going to exist, and that doesn't make any sense either.
Yeah, it's been a rough year for Sony in a lot of ways.
That stuff.
Yeah, dude, this is by far the worst year in platform history. Sorry, it just is.
Yeah, but I hope at some point they get it figured out, because unlike somebody in the chat that wants to say we all want PlayStation dead, like why would I have bought my PlayStation 5 shortly after launch for $500 if I wanted it gone? Like that's silly. No, like let's be realistic here. But in any event, yeah, this leak is very eye opening and interesting. And I guess the only thing is, it's like much like a lot of these other leaks where the game is 2 years away further than what we were hoping, kind of thing. In some cases, some of these are almost feel like they're 10 years away. But man, oh man, good stuff. Sorry that for the people that are kind of caught in this crossfire type of thing. But
Yep.
yeah, I'm glad we at least got to see some of the IP that are potentially in the pipeline and where their heads are at to some extent. But it still seems like they're not quite ready to dip both feet into the multiplayer games as a service pool where they would have the best success as far as with those IPs. But
yeah,
I've rambled enough. I'm sorry.
No. I want to go right back to you. First of all, I want to welcome in. We had nearly 1,100 people live in the chat, which is crazy. If you're finding the channel for the first time, we are officially 134 subscribers away
Let's go.
from 14K. Listen, I mean, there's got to be at least 100 and something of you in here who are not subbed. And listen, I normally don't ask for myself. I really don't. We are givers on this channel. We never take. But I am asking that you would consider subscribing to help us kind of get that Christmas miracle before we get to the Christmas day, which is next Monday. It would be pretty dope to hit that 14K.
Yeah.
We've worked incredibly hard, and it's like I said, it's a mom and pop organization that was just me and my wife and me. And I do the podcasting. She does a lot of behind the scenes stuff, like with the finances and things. But it's just the two of us, and we would definitely appreciate any help you can give by helping us edge that 14K goal that we have, and it would really top off an incredible year that the channel has had. But Fuzzy, I want to go right back to you because we got to move to the second and last topic of the show, because folks, we're going to be covering this for the remainder of the week. I would imagine tomorrow night's primetime gaming, we're going to hit this heavy and hard pause, and we're gonna have a conversation. Hargeet's going to be back with us, and again, because there's more stuff that's starting to come out, more leaks. So we're going to cover all of it. But we have to address one of the most important aspects of this leak, and that is Sony attempting to change the market once again in 2027 and charge for their games, not deluxe editions, folks, not special editions that come with statues or any added digital stuff. I'm talking straight up, you buy the game, Fuzzy, they want to charge between $80 and $100, changing the market landscape like they did for this generation when they went from 60 to 70. And that is because their games, as we know, Spider-Man 3 is going to cost upwards of $400 million potentially to make. That is just insane. Obviously, they continue to go up. A normal PlayStation game, $280 million to make. They usually match that with, of course, how much they spend on advertising. It's usually point to point. Their games are getting so big that they are trying to use that as a driving force, and I would imagine with their investors, to charge $80 to $100 for first-party games. I'm gonna tell you this right now, live on the air. If that ever happens, I'll never buy another PlayStation game unless it's on sale.
Let me co-sign you with that really quick, because I don't want to pay 70.
I don't want to pay 70. 76.43 here in New York for a PlayStation game. What do you think that's going to be? $112? That's like Canada money. No, listen, we're not doing that here.
I forced my nephew, who I had game shared with from a little lad, as our Eastern brothers would say, until now. And now he's going in half with me on these $70 games. I'm like, I'm not having it. I'm not having it, nephew. Let's go. Right. My thing is, if it goes to 80, I can have him do that too. But it's a principle, right?
It is a principle thing.
Yeah. Where's the additional value that we're getting for you doing that?
None. Well, and that's the problem. Let me ask you guys: do you think now? They talk about sustainability and unsustainability. Would you say that Sony is a victim of their own design? But the whole process.
I've been saying that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's what it looks like to me. I mean, Microsoft is, you look at the landscape of gaming, what they give us versus what Microsoft gives us. You would think if you didn't label who this was and you just didn't pay attention, you would think Sony was Microsoft and Microsoft was Sony. The diversity is just crazy on Xbox side of things, where Sony is just giving you these cinematic experiences that cost upwards of hundreds of millions that they cannot sustain. Seems like things have been flipped a little bit to me.
Well, it's also funny that these experiences are becoming smaller and smaller to some extent. Like, you're able to complete the mainline quests. Instead of it being a 40-hour game, it's now a 20-hour game or a 12-hour game.
It's a movie experience. It's an experience now. You know, it's a visual experience. You're going on a journey. Sometimes you hit a few buttons, you get into a combat state, maybe a little bit of a flow, but just when it gets real good, oh man, there's a cutscene. We're gonna walk you through this, and I mean, but that, like, I am adding some additional sauce, and I really do love Spider-Man, and I don't doubt that Spider-Man 2 is an amazing game itself. I'll love to play it when it comes to PC, but it is not enough for you to spend $300 million on these games, and you don't have anything within them to sustain themselves. Again, Batman Arkham Trilogy has a horde mode within it, or a survival mode, that allows you to work on your combat skills. And it's just, that game came out 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Something small to help entice the players to continuously stay within that IP, within your ecosystem, to keep them talking. It's just, why aren't these being implemented? And the thing that I consistently get back, just like how, bro, it breaks my heart that they're not going to make a Spider-Man GTA-like game of a custom. That breaks my heart, because that's the ingenuity that I was expecting from PlayStation, that has not happened, and I don't get why. And the only thing that comes to it is just they haven't been ready for this, for the diversity. They don't have the same ideology, and I'm kind of starting to think that maybe Jim Ryan was doing something right, and PlayStation was just like, no, we're not ready for that yet, Jim. No, you got to stop that.
Yeah,
we got to get the ball back. I don't know. That's the way it feels.
I think you're right, brother. And we talked about this before, where we said that clearly there must have been some type of differences behind the scenes that we're not privy to. I mean, Jim Ryan, Tony is notorious for just disappearing people. Sean Layden was just kicked out of there and walked out of there.
Disappeared people.
100%.
You know what I mean? They like the mafia over there. Get out of here, you know. But the thing
they're apparently in witness protection. So go figure.
But like one of the things I noticed too is off the point you were making is and I kind of picked this up talking with my brother Post Up the other day, while we were like, everybody was just chatting up, right? And I wondered this with the whole live service thing and that GTA Spider-Man idea, which I agree would have been dope. I mean, can you imagine swinging around?
I would have played that.
Yo,
I would have
actually
played that
with the homies.
Man,
oh my God.
Swinging around.
That would have been
everybody
amazing.
Gets one. Pop them and drop them and drop them with the blicky and keep moving.
Could you imagine what like a horde mode would have been for that? Like, you're fighting some of his rogue gallery.
I'm a different type of Spider-Man in here, Boom. I'm popping people. I'm not some,
Oh God! See, you try to take it to the next level. See,
I'm an anti-hero.
You trying to do a mod,
But think of the way that they could monetize that. Instead of having to charge like $50 per type of mode or whatever, the skins kind of
the
do
suits,
the Fortnite model.
The suits, bro.
Yeah,
like, are you
all
serious?
The suits like people would spend money on that. People would spend money
Take my
on
money, please.
cosmetics and stuff. So
I prefer that, but yeah.
But one of the things we had came up with, and Post Up kind of pointed it out. I said, well, what were these? So we see the slide, and one of the things that pop up immediately, you see the X-Men, right? And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
you remember, Boom? I don't know if you remember, but I wanted Xbox to get X-Men. I had been wanting that since the 360. I kept saying it. And when I saw that out, when they got Wolverine, I kind of saw the writing on the wall. But then I saw X-Men. I was like, oh, they got him. But if you look at that slide, you'll see X-Men online.
Yep.
That also goes into play with the Spider-Man thing, right? I wonder if those were at least two of the games that were put aside out of the live service, the 12 that they had. I wonder if some of those were set aside for that, because we already know Spider-Man was canceled. So that's one of them, right?
Right.
I'm wondering what else maybe with Marvel may have been put aside for the online component, for the live service. I wonder.
It's very interesting. Also, like, look, at the end of the day, this is something that I think everyone who hosts their own shows are going to be talking about this, because I keep getting DMs left, right, and center. There are more things coming out, which again we only have so much time. We're only here to 2:00, right? We'll be back prime time, but I do want to just continue the point, because I want to get everyone's hot take on this, because money, listen, doesn't grow in trees, and there is going to come a point where Sony, to their point, are spending lots of money to make these very cinematic games. They are upwards of what films cost to make, right? That's a fact. They're going to want a return of investment. And I'm here to tell you right now, and I don't know who said it, but if they try to make $100 games, they're going to collapse the industry, and it's going to be their fault. Because I don't know how you can ask a consumer who's a fan, whether they're support all three consoles or they're just straight up diehard fans, to pay $112 after tax for your game, when it's going to be, even if it's 20 hours, it's considered a one and done. I mean, that's not how I play them. I do all this. Right. I chase pigeon farts and find graffitis. Graffiti on the walls, and deliver packages for old ladies. I did all that in Spider-Man, and that's why I platinumed it. But not everyone does that. People streamline the main campaign. They're done 12 hours over a weekend, and they're done. You can't ask people to pay $100. So just continue that point, Fuzzy. $80 to $100. What are we talking about here? Like, this is crazy to me.
Well, the funny thing is, other than I think Call of Duty, there hasn't been a game that is sold more than 10 million at the $70 price point that was only at the $70 price point. All of the ones that had a $70 component for like next gen that went over to 10 million were ones that had the cross gen where they were like $10 less. So if they're going to start pushing this, 80 to 100, it is going to collapse their overall, and it's going to be this weird move where it's going to push people more so to subscriptions. And if they're not doing day and date, I think they're going to be the ones that are on the outs. Just for the fact that there's going to be a certain threshold. Like I already, other than I think Gran Turismo for the 25th anniversary edition, which I bought the deluxe version or whatever, I think that was like $85 or $89 or whatever.
Already spending that. Yeah.
I haven't bought any other PlayStation games at 70. I waited for Returnal to go on sale. I waited for Ratchet and Clank to go on sale. And then there was a few others. There were other ones like I think Deathloop, Ghostwire weren't 70 to begin with, or maybe I waited until it was 70 with the deluxe edition or something with the extra content. But for the most part, if I'm waiting at 70, there's going to be others that are probably going to wait further when it's at 80, or ones that'll wait further when it's 100, or just might pass it up altogether kind of thing. So I think it's going to be something that, they'll get more money per unit they sell. But if you sell half the amount of units, then are you really making that much more, just doing that incremental bump? So I think it's something that will make Game Pass look even more enticing, and might actually have to force them to push their day, their first party day and date, which I would love to see. But still, that's just a thing that I think it's not going to collapse the entire industry, but I think it will hurt their bottom line. Like you'll see, and even when you look at Spider-Man 1 versus Spider-Man 2, and even their projections for Spider-Man 3, they're looking at lower numbers each and every increment. So it's like, you also see the fall off on a series of titles after the first one through to like the third or fifth one.
Fatigue.
But you have to expect to even bring in less money with those projections, or you may even cut some of those sales down because, it's now at launch $10 more, $20 more. So I hope that they're looking at that bigger picture. But I think it will make subscriptions more of a thing, which I know most of the PlayStation guys that are like, I'll pay $100 for that game. Yeah, well, you'll get it. You ask for stupid prizes, or play stupid games, ask for stupid prize, or you win stupid prizes. I messed up my own saying, but anyway.
No, that's the best saying. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. You should definitely make a T-shirt for that, for sure. That would definitely. I'd buy one for sure. I'm Infinite Umbra. We're going in reverse order. Let's get your take on this. $80 to $100 games. Does that make financial sense for Sony?
And it makes no financial sense at all, as far as I'm concerned. I told you, I'm not paying $70 barely now. I don't want to pay 80. So, I mean, listen, I think even the most diehard gamer king-esque Hoove brother will eventually scoff at an $80 to a $100 priced game. Now, I have often felt terrible for our brothers, in Canada who tell me routinely, or in Australia, that it's 100 and whatever plus dollar dues in Australia, or 100, bucks in Canada, or whatever they call it there.
But
But
checks also reflect that difference.
yeah, that's true, to be fair. But in my American
true.
brain, when I hear that, I'd be like, ugh,
Yes, it's
I get
absurd. It's
appalled.
wild. Yes, absolutely.
So I can't imagine that it going up $100 here and how much it would go up there. I'm guessing 100 and maybe, I guess maybe what, 40, 50 more. I don't know. I don't even want to calculate how terrible that would sound to hear out loud from them in my brain. But I think just the mere idea of that is much like what was pointed out, that they would collapse on themselves. I don't think gaming can sustain that. I know there's an argument always made by some random person out there that's trying to argue for companies, and I don't know why they do that. Well, inflation, man, look, our cost of living has gone up. Our dollars have not for us. So I am never going to be arguing for $80 to $100 games. I'm just not doing it. I don't care what they're talking about. We saw the whole Diablo situation. They're talking about $100 for an expansion. Well, that'll be the Diablo I miss. I mean, the good thing is, though, now that's in Game Pass, so we don't have to worry about that. But anyway, my point of it is no, I think $80 to $100 priced games would be more or less, I don't want to say the death of gaming, but it would hurt it significantly. I think everybody's going to have a threshold where they come to that and like, nah, I can't do that. I think Sony going that route would hurt them so much. It would hurt them probably as much as the ABK thing. I think it would push people right on over to Xbox.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I mean, listen, there's going to come a point where, like, for instance, I want to use Call of Duty as a great stepping off point. Daniel will bring you in a hot second. If by some chance they try to raise prices, like even right now, tell me, with anybody in the chat, we got over 1,000 people still here with a straight face, that I understand people aren't going to abandon their PlayStation libraries. I totally get that. Yeah. But let's talk the casual audience for a second. How are you going to legitimately say the guys over there are charging $16.99 a month and you get Call of Duty, quote unquote, for free? Right over here, $76.43. Plus, you're getting the one game. Now, granted, it may be the one game that they play for the entire year, but that's not going to equate the amount of value you're getting over here. They said it in the documents. Folks, I read it verbatim. Their concern is people are going to give up on PlayStation because if they're going to outprice themselves right out of the market, and they're going to go over to where Microsoft can afford to give it to you for $17 a month. And they just listen. They're in a pickle. Dan, let's bring you in. $80 to $100 games. It doesn't make any sense. They're going to box themselves out. They really, really are. And as great as Spider-Man 2 is, and I'm sure the other games are going to be great. I'm hyped for Wolverine. I saw some stuff. I'm like, oh, yep, take my money. Wolverine looks dope. But not everyone's going to think like that, at least when you're trying to charge them at $100 a game. And I will say this again, and of course, I've already been co-signed by Infinite. I will never buy another PlayStation game at full price if they go to $100. I'm just not doing it.
No, yeah, I think probably most people would feel that way. Which is why I also think that they probably won't be able to end up doing it. Like, no matter how, I'm sure everyone wants to charge as much as humanly possible for their product. Because that's capitalism, right?
Right.
But at a certain point, you have to read the room and be like, hey, man, if we say that this game can only be bought for $100, we're going to sell significantly less units. Like, at a certain point, you hit the breaking point where the extra amount of money that you would be making from each individual sale doesn't make up for the amount of sales you'll be losing out on for people who are like, no, I'm not doing that. Right. And maybe it's just like they want to set up some weird tier system where the opening weekend is just the whales, and then they can start dropping the price after a couple months and like bring people in over time. I guess that would be some like weird ass backwards way to increase the longevity of a game's sales. But why would you do that? Like, why would you do that? That's definitely the number one thing in all of these leagues where I'm like, yeah, they're not going to be able to do that. Because I think, or I want to believe at least, that PlayStation is smart enough to not actually go through with that. Like, there's some marketing guy or whoever, financial guy, who's like, if we want to make a lot of money, we could just make more money. And my hope is that once that slide or whatever was presented, the rest of the people in the boardroom were like, dude, like that's not gonna work out.
Nope. Yeah,
because it just won't, right? Like, there's no situation in which what do they sell on like on a God of War these days? Like 10 million, something like that.
Yeah.
There's no way 10 million people
over
are gonna be
5
like,
years. Yeah,
yeah, I'll give you $100 for
That's
that.
like-
Like, no, 100% no. There's no way that works out for them.
Yeah, it's again, the slides are there, folks. I'm sorry to say, I know there are going to be people still pushing the envelope. No, it's fake. Boom, it's fake. It's not.
Oh,
It's
sure.
not fake,
Yeah.
folks. No one went. No. There isn't a group of Xbots that go around trying to make this stuff up. Unlike we saw with Blade, people making fake trailers. They got 134,000 views on a fake trailer for a box of Blade that doesn't exist. Ridiculous. People do it. No, these are real. It's a very unfortunate, and it does open the eyes on where Sony is as a corporation and where PlayStation is as a platform. And I can tell you this right now, Hargeet, $100 games does not interest me. I don't think it's going to interest a whole mess of people. What are your hot takes on this, man?
Well, it looks like that's for the next generation, right? That's their assumption.
Right, that would
is
be
that they're
2027.
They're gonna try to bump up just like they did this generation. Look, I think they'll try. Look, and all of these analyses are correct. So they got the results from $70, right, to go to $70, and that came out that the revenue went up, but the volume of sales went down, right? And that was an expected outcome, I guess. If you're going to do that, you should know that, right? And now you have to just play that curve out and guess where it'll hit to a point where it's just not worth going higher than that, right? So they're going to do that, and that's what Sony's going to do. Now, my take on this whole thing, Sony has driven, because they had to do something after the PS3 disaster, they've driven this idea of cinematic games, right? More and more fidelity, high quality. The problem with that is, A, it makes the games take forever to make,
Right.
and it costs inordinate amounts more money. For what gain? What is the gain you get out of this? It looks nice. So what? Zelda was just as good. It didn't look anywhere near like freaking Spider-Man. I don't care. Zelda was a phenomenal game. I had a lot of fun with it. Mario Wonder didn't take the fidelity, gear all the way up to the... Who cares? It's a fun game. How much did it cost Nintendo to make that? And how much profit do you think they're going to drive from the sales of that game? The difference is look, you need to have games that are playable, not games that look good and you hit triangle or square every 10 minutes. That's not a good enough thing. And that's something they just have to learn. At some point, it's got to be about the gameplay, and forget this stupid rat race of my graphics look better than yours. Who cares? Ultimately, it's not going to matter, right? You have to get to the point that a game is a game. It's not about the graphics, but that is unfortunately not where everybody is. Right? I'm very alone on that. Most people want the graphic fidelity thing. Cool. There's the result. 6, 7, 8 years to make a game. Hundreds of millions of dollars. It's unsustainable. Okay. You want to pay $200 for a game? Feel free. I'm good with $60.
Yeah.
And I get a game that comes out in 2 to 3 years. I'm happy. Give me Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 that came out in one gen. I'm happy. Those games looked great to me. Played freaking awesome. Awesome storyline. I got the whole story arc within a generation. Give me that. I'm way happier with that. But unfortunately, we want to live in a world where we get one game a generation. A trilogy takes 20 years. I'm done with that. I don't care. And this is this whole thing has been kind of pushed by Sony. This is what they wanted to do. Go on this, like cinematic experience thing. Cool. But this is the result. I'm much happier with Grounded, which I put 200 hours into. Okay. Does that look fidelity like maximum? I don't care. It's a fun game. That's all that matters. It looks good enough.
Yeah,
It was made by what 10, 15 people.
Yeah,
Good enough.
actually
Exactly.
13 people made that game, if you could
Good
believe
enough.
it. Yeah,
Right?
13 people.
So like again, this is the kind of thing that Sony went that direction. Microsoft said, make a game you want to make. Go make the game you want to make. It's a small game. It's a large game. Go make the game you want to make. Why? Because you will want to play it. That's the idea, right? And Sony is going in the direction of, no, God of War needs to be made because it'll make me, $1 billion, and that's the only sustainable thing we can have. Okay. Well, what about the quirky games? No, we don't do those. Close those studios. Get rid of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Nobody wants
So,
that.
yeah, this the point of any endeavor in art is new art. And they're saying, no, we're gonna lather, rinse, repeat the old art. Okay. If that's what you want, great. What new IP has come out for PlayStation 5? Returnal. That's it, right? Everything else is remakes, sequels, remasters, right? What are they doing first party? What new IP? I don't know. I haven't seen anything.
I haven't told me
I can't even
either.
call Venom a new IP because that's not their IP.
No,
that's an existing.
I have
Marvel
a hard
IP.
time considering Spider-Man at all. In a lot of
It's not a new
in a lot
IP.
of ways, it's hard to consider. It's hard to give Sony so much credit for Spider-Man because Spider-Man was already good. It just
Exactly.
didn't have
It's like
the
the top
good
Marvel
games
character.
with it.
Yeah,
Like it didn't have the it didn't have the fidelity with it at the time. Now it has the fidelity. It's wow, a good game is all of a sudden much better because it looks good. Like I get, and I don't want to discredit Insomniac. I'm not, because I love what they've done with the character, but it's not yours. Like, you didn't create Spider-Man,
and that
you
story
have
exists.
leagues of history. You have leagues of history to go back to.
So yeah, and so look, I've put that out there years ago that I think graphical fidelity is killing video games. I hate the idea that the next Elder Scrolls will take like an umpteen million years. I just want the game. Just give me the game. Like every one of these studios is taking so long to give you a game because everything is scrutinized to such a level now because Sony put it out there that your quality has to be this high a level, otherwise you're not a good enough game. It's like, oh, geez, dude. So this is just biting them in the ass. And like Sean Layden put it out there, I can't keep sustaining this. It basically doubles every generation. He's like, that's just not sustainable. And he's right. He's 100% right. It's not necessary to make your games look stunning as hell if the game isn't fun, right? And thankfully, a lot of these games from Sony tend to be good. That's good. They're fun. But that is a problem that you run into. If it's an experimental game, say Days Gone, and it doesn't sell the way you want it to, you suddenly say, studio, F off, you're going to go do this instead, right? And that's just not cool.
Yeah,
that's the problem. That's the
To
problem
add
they have.
that, by the way, Hargeet, like even when they get the graphics up there like that and they get all these, this industry standard that they typically set, like with The Last of Us and all that. Well, the problem is with a lot of these other games, not The Last of Us or whatever, that's not necessarily them. They don't have the sustainability of people staying with them. It's one that they are essentially one and done. They move on.
They're one and done. Exactly. There is no continuous thing because that's just not the games they make.
Right.
Which is a sad state. They should be able to do at least multiplayer, right? Fine, if you can't do live, at least do multiplayer. But that's kind of just gone now from them. And the whole pivot to multiplayer thing where they wanted to go live service, like cool. But the way to do that is find a game development studio that wants to make a live service game that has a cool idea and go with it. And they did that with Haven, with Fair Games, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how well that'll work. Hopefully it will for them, but I don't know. But we'll see what happens with that, right? But the other ones they've tried, not
so much. Yeah. No, I mean, it's
the idea of going to $100. This whole thing it's going to be interesting because I am pretty sure by the time we get to the next generation, there will be a price hike. It's kind of a given. You can just expect it. How much? I don't know. Is it going to go to 70, 80, whatever? We're at 70 now. Is it going to go to 80? Maybe, right? I think that's probably what's going to happen. Is it going to go to 100 to sustain Sony's need to keep making games that are more and more fidelity driven? I don't know. Like, as you start saying, hey, look, the game is now the actors. Well, actors cost money. That's just the way it is, right? And these games, if they're going to have 4 or 5 hours of cinematic stuff, that's 4 to 5 hours of an actor's time, right? That is a lot of money, okay? That's why these things are inflating. So there is a market drive for that to say, if your game isn't making money and you keep making them more expensive, maybe you should rethink your investment portfolio.
Yeah.
Disney, anyone? Disney kept going with a certain trend, and guess what? It didn't work. It's starting to falter. Warner, anybody? How's the DC universe looking? So look, you have to look at what's happening and say, well, is the expenditure worth the return? It's not. And at some point say, well, we need to change our model. Instead of 10, of these sad dad walking simulators, maybe you make 2. And then the rest of them are not that. And then you just have games that people can play that don't cost $600 million, that maybe only cost $50 million. You have to think in those terms, change the dynamic so that you can make money. That's up to Sony to figure out. And I think this is one of the things that Colin was always pointing out. Oh, I want my games to always be like this. I want this top quality thing from like 20 studios. Good luck. How do you sustain that? It's a reality that people can't live in. You have to deal with reality. So great that you want that, but people aren't buying. People didn't buy Returnal. People didn't buy Ratchet and Clank. People didn't buy what was the Ben one? Days Gone?
Days Gone.
They didn't buy that. Okay. If they had bought them, they'd sustain, they'd make a next game. They didn't. Right. That's how it goes. So Ratchet and Clank, thankfully, is still on their roadmap, but that game didn't sell that well. Returnal, I don't know what what Housemarque is doing next. We'll see. But that game, did it even cross 1 million? I don't even know if it crossed 1 million in sales.
I don't think it did.
But this is the thing, right? So to start charging more, you have to expect a drop off. That's going to happen, right? And you're going to push people away. Now, on the flip side, Microsoft gives you a nice little service, and it's just going to make it that much more enticing to say, why don't I just pay for that? In fact, why don't I just pay for it when I actually want to play? Because you're not locked in. You can cancel at any time. So if you only play 2 months a year, pay your $17 2 months, and you're done. Play the games you want to, go, right? They don't care. Microsoft's happy. And play them on PC, play them on GeForce Now, play them on Xbox. They don't care. Have fun. Play, right? So it's a totally different model, right? And that is going to start becoming more and more of a problem if you want to keep increasing the prices, right? So some people I'm sure are going to say that, hey, Xbox will go ahead and increase their price too. I don't care. I pay for Game Pass. Day and date, I get everything. On the flip side, Sony has never even stated that their games will come to their subscription, let alone come to this, stay in their subscription after 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever, right? We don't even know if their games are even coming to the subscription. They could at least even say that. Hey, subscribe to our PS Plus Premium. All of our games will eventually be there. They haven't even said that, to my knowledge, anyway.
No,
so,
they have not. They haven't. I can confirm that.
It's time they start changing that, right? Get the revenue. They just aren't pushing enough. Now, again, they have a leadership change coming next year. We'll see if that starts to change all of these things. They have a long way to go, right? I don't know what they plan to do, but $100 games, oh my goodness. I fully expect $80. That's just my guess. It's going to be $80 at the next generation. Sad, but whatever, it is what it is, right? So at least I know Activision won't be the one pushing it. It'll probably be Take-Two as usual, right? Because Phil will be the last one to do it, right? So
the last of the Phil Heekins.
Yeah, he will definitely be the last because he wants to give you as much value as he can, right? So and they were the last to jump to $70. Right, so he'll let everybody else do it first and say, okay, fine. If everybody else is going to take it, then we'll do it as well, right? But it doesn't matter. Again, Xbox, I just pay $17. I'm done. I don't have to worry about their game price.
And you're good. Yeah.
So yeah, it's sad, but it is what it is. And there's a lot of other stuff. I assume we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Boom, right there.
Yeah, I'm literally putting the show together as we speak. I'll send over the show notes as I do. But Steel Rain, the closest out, brother.
Yeah.
$80 to $100 games, unsustainable for an absolute fact. I don't know even at $80 if they launch the next generation, that's going to be feasible and enough to make back the money they're spending on these games. Because obviously inflation is going up, the cost of making these games are going up. They're taking longer. Normal development, I don't know, 10 years ago was 3 to 4 years. Now it's 5 to 6. And we know that for a fact because you and I both know a developer that worked on Fable, and we have it from the horse's mouth that it's getting more and more expensive to make games. So Sony's going to have to figure it out because, listen, they had a huge drop-off in subscription services because they charged $40 more and you got nothing for it. Now, again, the proof's in the paper, as my wife says. They want to charge anywhere between 80 and 100. What are your thoughts?
Well, Boom, I'll start with this. I know you've played Ghost of Tsushima before, Boom, but has anybody enticed you to maybe play multiplayer? I know you're not typically like the multiplayer guy. I know Halo's your thing, but has anybody talked with that about you, mentioned
No.
it to you, said, hey, Boom, man, I was playing this great mode sometime and maybe me and you should try it out. Anybody said that to you?
No.
No? Oh, okay. Fuzzy, I mean, you've brought this up before, but like Returnal, man, it looks like Fuzzy, look, man, I got Returnal on PC. I heard it's crossplay. Maybe we could play together, man, because obviously nobody else in the player base thinks it's worth enough money to buy these games or even stay within their ecosystem.
Yeah.
So I don't think that $80 to $100 is going to see any. They're not going to get any good faith from that, man. Like, that is not the direction to go. If they go that direction, they are shooting themselves in the foot. Now, I'll get in my dialogue here, and then I'll lead into my outro because I got to go get my daughter. But $80 to $100 games, you have to prove to me that I need to even that I need to step into your ecosystem first. And I understand that that's a personal thing for me. But like everybody else has mentioned on this panel, at what point do you get to a conclusion about what you are offering at a variety standpoint? What are you offering your consumer that's going to inherently enhance their experience? That's the thing that Xbox has changed and why we're having this conversation now. And again, because I see the conversation continuously go back to this. If you do not understand why or how Game Pass is sustainable, then why, when the actual people from Microsoft, Xbox come out and tell you why it's sustainable, how it's sustainable, and that it is, and then when the opposite side tells you, hey, the way that we've been doing things isn't sustainable, why do you still want to beat your drum or beat your chest about, oh man, it should be like it was back in the day. If everybody just bought their games and man, these developers would get, it hasn't worked. We as gamers are selfish. We want more in our experiences. Sony took that as, oh, we need to make our games more cinematic. No, that's not what the people were asking for, but that's what the people have accepted. And it has been proven that that's not good enough because people are buying your hardware, but aren't buying software. Why is your own IP selling less than an IP that has been around since the 70s? Or even before that, probably, because I'm not up to Spider-Man's whole lineage and when he began, but there's already something there. I thought people loved PlayStation. I know it's not back in the day where all you had was Tekken, but I'm not buying Tekken for $80 to $100. I don't think any game should be even at the $70 price point that we're at right now because of the inherent value has been lost. I don't care what the price of games are. I'm a consumer at the end of the day. I want the bang for my buck. And I am the guy who believes that gaming is art and should be treated as such to the end of time. And everybody has their own value in art, which is part of the biggest reason why I like that phrase. Everybody has their own inherent thing that they look for in this industry and any perceived value of art. Right now, gaming is not at a $80 to $100 level. Mainly because things have not been consistent. We're not getting complete games. They don't know how to optimize games before they release. So we just want to continue to pay more for unoptimized products, be given reasons like, oh, for an example, let's put it on Xbox that the Series S is holding back the generation, although surprisingly, 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, oh man, shout out to Xbox, we were able to enhance Baldur's Gate 3 by 30%. That's not a small margin. We're not even taking advantage of what we have right now, but people are talking about the price of games. Oh, hey man, it's macroeconomics. It's right where it should be. You're not getting any inherent value. The same people who say that don't see value in multiplayer. So again, your 10 to 15 to 20 hour experience versus what I like to see in multiplayer, or at least have an add-on to. For an example, why would I have any faith in an $80 to $100 game if they ever took it there as a consumer when you already took a multiplayer away from me? Now you're telling me I need to go get a PlayStation 4 to go play the original factions if I wanted to. And I don't even know if those servers are up. And why would I do that when you've remastered the game 3 times?
Yep.
Release it with the next remaster then. How about that? That's why I can't, with everything that has been going on with Sony and all the spinning people are doing. If this doesn't show you the inherent bias, I don't know what will. This is not an $80 to $100 conversation. This is, we need to get our stuff together kind of conversation that need to be happening. So no, to answer the question directly, it makes no sense for them to even ponder about $80 to $100 games, because the people who support your ecosystem are the people who don't buy games day one. The reason why gaming thrives the way that it does today, it's not because of us, the 10%. It's the people still playing on 360 and Xbox Ones. We just give value and give people idea of what's popular, what looks good, what feels good right now, and where the industry can go, what they can look to. And guess what? Because of what Microsoft has been doing, you have more access points than you ever had before. And if at $80 to $100, Sony isn't going to offer something very similar to give people value. Although I have to bring this back up. People keep saying that Game Pass isn't working. One side says that they're profitable. The other side says that this isn't working anymore. What are we going to believe? We can continue to be in osmosis, and eventually it'll touch your smooth brains for some of you guys out there that don't want to see the future. And I get the digital era is scary. Ownership is out of the window as far as gaming goes. We have to think about we have to hold these people's feet to the fire, no matter what the brand is, no matter how well they've done in the past. And I get, again, I'm just taking my RTS perspective because I am somebody who is not involved in that ecosystem. I have no horse to play. I would like a horse for me to ride on and gallop into the sunset if I wanted to. But why would I purchase a horse or a saddle or anything else to go along that journey if I don't see value in that? And just saying because, I'm a gamer is not a good enough reason for me.
Yeah, no, it's good
I want
stuff,
Sony
dude.
to find their place. So, but with that, I got to dip out of here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
I greatly appreciate everybody for tuning in. You can find me Still Rain, Still Rain, the T is a 7 everywhere. Google's the easiest place to type that in. Greatly appreciate you all. And man, it's such a fun time that we're in right now. The diverse conversations that we can have. And again, I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm not saying that anybody else on the panel is probably right. We're just a group of guys trying to armchair CEO our way through what the industry possibly has going on, and make sure that we're inherently getting the value that we're looking for as consumers. So,
brother, I love your humbleness. I am not so humble. I'm right, and you all better agree with me. No, but no, seriously, welcome to the show, brother. We love your
great to have you part of the show each and every week, brother. Go take care of your film and business. We'll see you on Saturday, folks. Living Split Screen Saturdays. Let me just fix this. Hold on, because I have the here we go. Boom. Okay. So listen, let me catch up on the super chats and we'll get everyone out of here. I also got to bounce. I got to go do some family stuff as well. Obviously, the holidays is upon us, but we had over 1,100 people here today. Folks, we are 136 away from 14K. If you're finding the channel for the first time, please, for the love of Joe, consider subscribing. It would be pretty dope to hit that by end of year. I'd love it to be able to say on Christmas morning, hey, folks, on top of Mrs. Boom's amazing gifts, we opened up, we're at 14K. Can we hit it? I don't know. But if you're finding the channel for the first time, I live stream 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, all different panels, all different shows, but all great content. And we don't sell you hate. We don't hate monger. We talk facts. We bring our opinions. And we usually have a lot of laughs in between. We have Gamer by Choice drops not one, but two $5 super chats and says, I think Sony is cashing in on cachet they built up. Do you think that they'll use it up or will people justify Sony's actions? People could be fickle. A good friend of the show, Kayasante, calls it political capital that they had in bulk. Not so much anymore. I think that 2023 has proven that Sony does not care about you as a consumer or a player. That's why it's for the payers, not the players. His second super chat of $5 says King David seems to be right. You cannot save Kong, especially if he's on fire and you're putting him out with gasoline. Media seems to protect Kong. I mean, listen, it is what it is. Glacier Don drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, speak for yourself. Big bank, take little bank. If Sony dies, it dies.
Wow.
Whoa, that's a slit the throat kind of a moment.
If
Sith
he
Lord,
dies,
generous
he
friend of the
dies.
program, who's been a channel member for 20 months, folks. Thank you for that, man. Super appreciated. He says, just when you think 2023 is over and quiet, it's just as crazy as it started. Happy holidays to all. Stay safe, stay warm, and play more games. Love you all, and we love you as well, Sith Lord. Thank you so much for that. G Maybe, who's been a channel member for 1 month, says Sony raising game prices while making it illegal to resell your games. How about make games with multiplayer and more robust content and replayability? He's not wrong. Thank you for the generosity, brother. We have Alden drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, nowhere in the leaked docs does it say they're increasing prices. Yes, it does, dude. And I have it, and everyone on the panel has it because I sent it to everybody. One guy on Twitter said that this is, and no one has found what he's referring to a big, dude, listen, brother, I appreciate the $5 and I appreciate you being here. Please don't jump on the crazy train. These documents are out there. They were leaked. These are Sony's internal documents. It is what it is. They should get better security. Stop using bubble gum and paper clips. It doesn't work. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. Joey Rivera drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says 80 to 100. They're bugging. Most of these games ain't worth the gen prices FML. And Gotham Guy, generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $10 super chat and says, happy holidays, Boom, my friend, and the rest of the panel. Happy holidays to you and yours there, Gotham Guy.
Happy
he says,
holidays.
I'm doing a shameless plug for my company. LOL, Best Buy has the Series X for $339.99. 1 day drop starting today. Folks, you heard it from someone that works at Best Buy. $339 for a Series X. My God, get out there if you don't already own one. Let's get to the outros. We'll start first with Hargeet. Hargeet, obviously, Gaz is out there making the rounds as he does. He's poking and he's prodding and he's, saucing up the place. Pause. Sell the brand of Game On Daily. Obviously, you're a big part of what him and Asa do on a weekly basis. I would imagine that this week's show, if there is going to be one, it's going to have a lot to talk about. So there you go. Talk about it, man.
And I should be on. So, so GameOnDaily.com and YouTube.com/GameOnDaily. And this Saturday I should be on. So check it out, 4 p.m. US Eastern on Saturday. And then RDX at some point. I don't know. It's probably going to be next year at this point. And then tomorrow we'll be doing Primetime Gaming. Continuing this discussion. There's a lot of other stuff that we haven't talked about yet that came from the leak. And then there's just the general stuff that it was supposed to be an end of year discussion and all that. Well, anyway, there's a lot of good things we could talk about. So check that out tomorrow at 7. And keep on gaming. And for that person that was like all annoyed about us saying that PlayStation's going to die and we want it to die, I think you're self-reflecting. You need to kind of understand you wanted Xbox to die because it's your thought process that makes us say that you think that we're saying we want PlayStation. We do not. And trust me, I've seen Microsoft as a monopoly. It sucks. Internet Explorer, anybody? It's a bad idea. You do not want that to happen. They will stagnate. The reason is there's no reason to invest. That's what will happen. The money spigot that's on right now will be closed off. Do not want that. Trust me. You want them hungry. You want them continuing to compete. That's the way it should be. I get a lot more value from Xbox when they're looking to compete against Nintendo and Sony and others.
Facts.
So I 100% do not want them to go away. I want them to compete. I want them to come back and show us a good, roadmap. Like, tell us why I was shocked when their showcase showed nothing. Everybody was shocked. We expected them to throw the gauntlet down. This is why Microsoft, you need to double down. They didn't. That's not a good thing. So, just keep that in mind. If you're thinking about that, that's probably just you self-reflecting. have fun for the holidays. Enjoy your life. This is just gaming. It's okay. Don't get all pissed off. Right.
Yeah.
But anyway,
No.
happy holidays to everybody who may not join tomorrow. And otherwise, we'll catch you here tomorrow.
Absolutely, brother. Daniel McGee, sell your brand, brother. Talk about the best place for both long and short content, especially if you're a fan of the DCEU, which he is
Yes,
currently
sir.
rewriting as we speak. Talk about it. Not only that, but you're on a show called The Fix each and every Thursday with Infinite Umbra. Talk about that as well. And where could people reach out to you on social media?
Yeah, so as always, you can find me on Twitter at Daniel J. McGee or at my personal YouTube channel of Daniel McGee. I'm uploading a video of me talking about why I no longer care about the Game Awards literally right now. It should
Good
be up
stuff.
like
Wanna hear
in
it.
a couple minutes. So that'll be a fun one. I get a little spicy in it, so hopefully people are not too pissed about that. I don't really care that much, to be honest. So yeah, swing on by. I just broke 800 subscribers a little while ago, so we're on that climb to 1K. It'd be really great to see some of you head on over there. And if you like it, hit subscribe, hit that bell, do all the things that people want you to do, because I am one of those people who wants you to do them. Thank you, love you, bye.
No, good stuff, brother. Absolutely good stuff. Listen, we want to see you hit a 1K. Do real good work on there, folks. Please, by all means, take it on my account. That the work over there is done, and he does really good. Again, both long and short content. Please head over there and subscribe. Infinite Number, sell the brand of The Fix. You guys have been making some big strides over there. You've had some big guests. I don't know. I was on there a couple of weeks ago. Talk about it. Sell the brand of The Fix that you do with Daniel McGee. And where can people reach out to you on social media?
I like how you put yourself in it. You said I was on there a few weeks ago.
Like
I
that,
saw
right?
that,
You
boom.
like that?
Yeah, my lack of humility is rubbing off on you. Yeah. No, we had a really, really good show this past week, actually, as Danny could attest to. We had Randolph Thor and our brother Kay Asante. We went for 3 hours.
Great show. I was there. Great show.
Man. We had a ball, honest to God. So yeah, if you guys have not done so, please subscribe to a brother's channel. You can find it on my channel here on YouTube. Just type my name and you'll find it, or you can type The Fix. You should be able to find it that way as well. We would gladly appreciate you guys coming through. I'm guessing this show this week will be the last show for the year. Just to throw it out there. So, and what a way to end the year off, huh? But thank you guys all, for being here and holding us down as you all do. Did we break 1,000 today, viewers?
We had 1,100, 1,103 to be exact, which is bonkers.
Wow,
absolutely bonkers.
We've all come to celebrate PlayStation's downfall. Yes. No, but seriously, to mirror what Hargeet and everybody else is saying, we don't want PlayStation to go out. I do want Microsoft to be number one, though.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
But competition matters, and it matters because of us as consumers. When you don't have that, that's when you start getting people that can abuse it. Look at Sony with the $70 games, and they're going to go to 80 and try to go to 100, and we have to fight against that. And the only way to do that is to have competition, and that's why it's important to keep them in business as well as Microsoft. But yeah, Boom, shout out to you for continuously handling a great show, and as you do what you do. Hargeet, thank you for coming through, brother, and as well as you, Fuzzy, my brother. And Danny, of course, you okay? All right, but no.
I agree.
I had to get revenge. He said it to me last time.
That's funny.
But man, happy holidays to the family, everybody. If we don't hear from you, if you don't hear from us, and yeah. If you do come by the show though this week, I might sing a little jingle or something before we get out.
That'd be nice. Yeah, folks has really good singing voice. He does. He absolutely does.
Not to toot my own horn, but
toot, man. Toot. It's fine.
Call me Bing Umbra. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, listen. You are who we thought you were, and we love you for it. So thank you so much for being a part of this show each and every week, brother. And of course, go check out The Fix this Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern with him and Daniel. And I don't know who your guests are going to be, but I'm sure.
I'm glad you said that. I forgot to actually plug that. So 8 o'clock Eastern, yes. So far, we have Post Up. I'm looking for somebody else.
Good stuff. He's in the chat. Well, welcome.
Shout out to Post Up.
Shout out to Post Up. That guy is legit good.
And I'm looking for somebody else who might be slanderous as well. But just I don't know. I'm trying to keep
reach out to J Rock. He likes coming on.
J Rock would absolutely be slanderous. Yeah, I might just
nation as it's known would be more than happy to roll. Or you can reach out to, and I know he's in the chat, the Black Viking.
I did actually, But the Black Viking, I don't know. I didn't know his show was on the same day as mine.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's right. It is Thursdays.
Yeah,
Hell,
unfortunately.
okay.
But that's okay. We'll get him on there eventually. We talked about it, so we'll see. We'll work that out. But
Nice.
yeah.
That's good stuff, brother, as always. And last, no way least, the best place for anything and everything in the racing genre is, of course, Fuzzy Belvedere's YouTube channel. Not only that, you can find him on many other podcasts, as well as this one, and, well, actually, the Monday show, which is the Xbox lunch break special, and Breakfast with Boom on Friday mornings. But Fuzzy, sell your brand, brother. Let's talk about where people can subscribe to your channel, and more importantly, reach out to you on social media.
Boom, just want to thank you for having me on today. It was pretty cool to discuss the leaks and everything, but glad to be here with you guys. Awesome panel today, or for your for the Xbox Factor podcast and everything. But just appreciate being a part of it. Thanks to everybody in the chat for checking us out. Please don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. And for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. And then for everybody that is looking for more great gaming news, come right back here to Double Barrel Gaming on Friday for Breakfast with Boom at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look forward to seeing you guys there.
Yes, brother. And thank you so much for being a part of this show and the other one as well. Definitely appreciate that. Lastly, Gotham Guy drops an additional $5 super chat, and he kind of sets the record straight. It is $349.99 at Best Buy, but if you are a Best Buy Plus member, it's $10 off. So it's then, if you're, again, a lot of people are Best Buy members that have the membership, it's $10 that you save. So get out there. If you're waiting on the Series X for your significant other, or even for yourself, definitely go check. I mean, that's a really great price, and I think it's the one that comes with Diablo 4. And I mean, come on, that's freaking
Pretty good deal.
dope. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for all of the very generous super chats and channel memberships. Obviously, we use those to great effect because this Friday, folks, circle it on your calendar. We're giving away $1,500 worth of prizes in 2 hours. It's the most that we've ever given away, and we fund that with the channel memberships, with the super chats. We tuck those away, and there's going to be 12 winners, 10 $100 gift cards to, of course, your platform of choice, whether it be Steam, PlayStation Network, Xbox Live, or, of course, Nintendo eShop. And there are going to be 2 grand prize winners that are each going to walk away with a $250 gift card. And the only way you can win is if you're going to be in the chat that day. And of course, the first 6 prizes go to channel members. The next 6 will go to people that are in the chat that are live there. And we have a hashtag that we will give out that morning that you'll type into the chat, and will automatically enter you into the contest. And of course, I'm going to close out today's show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son, I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next year on the new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast.